Alright, and we're starting. Oh, I see. Right there. Hold on, let me reposition my microphone, audience. Because you need primo mic position for What's Up, which is what we're doing right now.
Yes.
What's Up, the show about everything, nothing. Hello. Our names are in the title. Alright. Well, I always forget to do this, so I suppose I should go ahead and remember to do it.
Yes.
And do the patron intro.
Mm-hmm.
I remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by patrons alike: Adam DeHop, I Got Comics, Architect 10, Blacklist OG, Carlos, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Jen, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kester, Rogue Robin, Shawnee P, some guy named Bob, Soda-san over 24733, and Zach Reed. And if you like what we do, want to see If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early on some other goodies, and it really helps us out. Thank you for your support, everybody.
Thank you.
Sorry, jumped ahead of myself there. Skipped a line. The curse of speaking fast. Okay, alright. So that's the intro. It is What's Up. Hi. How you doing, kids?
Everyone doing alright? Let's see here. Well, I guess I can start off because Lucky got some real life stuff that's happened to him recently. And the aftermath, origins of the Backstreet Boys reunion tour. Lucky got laid off over 5 months ago, actually. It's crazy. And last week, my job place called me finally after I had left several messages and an email or two. And it was all like, hey, yeah, so we don't need you for the job that you had, but we could get you another job in the same area, in the same department. I was all like, yes, sure, cool, give.
You are offering employment? Cool, I'm there.
Yes. Like I said, after the stimulus, the emergency package thing, I was lucky was living off of like maybe $800 a month plus whatever donations and ad rev we get, which is enough for the bills.
Yeah, it's a bit, but it's not. We don't, especially because we're splitting it. We don't really make enough for like full blown. We can live off this cash.
No. Honestly, the donations and ad rev mostly went to buying recreational things that I may tell you stories about. Like basically all that $800 just went straight to bills. But I was talking about you might have heard of her Piss and Pieces of Here. I started working again Wednesday. I have no problem telling people this. Lucky works at this moment for Goodwill, the big company. You've probably seen it. You've probably heard stories about it in the US. But I work in their online department. And it's actually really, really cool. I'm gonna talk about my job. Basically, how Goodwill Online works is basically, well, you do one of two things. Basically, this is where like the best of the best stuff ends up. Actually, you go to a Goodwill and you're like, oh yeah, there's some clothes here, there's something, but everything looks kind of poor and raggedy and meh. That's because that's basically what they decided should be sold on the floor and not online. Online is where you'll find all, like, everything.
And that makes sense from a certain amount of business perspective, right? Like, if you're walking into a Goodwill, you're doing so because it's cheap and or it's a meme.
Yes.
If you're online, having high quality goods is what makes people go, oh, I'll buy this thing off Amazon. They're selling it at a reasonable price and quality.
And before, the job I had for was back during the book sorting machine. Basically, the media sorting machine where we take books, CDs, games, all that stuff, sort through them, see which ones will be sold in stores, and which ones will be sold online. This is how Lucky was able to get his hands on, like, PlayStation 1 copies of Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII, Parasite Eve 2, things like that. And it's like, I would see them come through and I'd be like, yes, give these to me.
Things you may remember from such episodes as What's Up.
Yes. But now, I don't have that job anymore. Now I'm a lister. I'm actually, Goodwill actually has its own independent site. It's called Goodwill, on GoodwillOnline.com, where it's actually an auction site. And like I said, I'm still in training. So they haven't let me do everything. But I've seen some of the shit that they've had on the racks. And it's a little bit crazy. Like things like more like things I've seen Gundam models, I've seen PS4s, I've seen games upon games upon games. I've seen like collections of like boxes upon boxes of Legos, like other things that I've seen though, like like brand new, still tagged designer clothing just here. I'm like, these people. And I talked about this before, but I learned like why this stuff happens. Usually, a lot of times when you return an item to a store, they don't actually put it back on the fucking,
yes, this one. Yeah, I know this one too.
Yeah, they don't put it back on the shelf. They actually put it into a box and they sell it to Goodwill. And Goodwill basically pays like a flat price for a box, and they open it up and get a smorgasbord of supplies. And, it's sorted through and things going through that. But yeah, so like for the 3 days, for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was basically doing a bunch of shoes and clothes. And Jesus Christ, women, you have so many different types of clothing and shoes. No, I'm dead serious. Fucking, like, for men's jeans, there is just men jeans. For women, it goes women jeans, and then we got slim, boot, capri, skinny. I'm just like,
which I'm pretty sure technically you can get those cuts in men's jeans, but the not going to the trouble of writing it down part.
Yeah. So yeah. Now, unfortunately, because of that, because we were in the Backstreet Boys reunion turn, actually, this is a little bit more interesting to talk about. We actually have to take protective measures in our workplace. So we can't have a bunch of people coming in at once. We don't have a bunch of people on lunch or on break at anymore. Everything's staggered out, so that played a little bit of havoc with scheduling. Originally, Lucky was supposed to be working way later into the evening because that's when my supervisors would be checking all our people. But luckily, the person who did the checking in before her was my old supervisor, and I was actually able to get an earlier time in, which personally I'm for. Before, like, I wouldn't be starting work until 8. Now I'm starting work a little bit after 7, and trust me, that 45 minutes of difference makes all the world between me getting home at like 5:30 and me getting home at like 4:15, because I take the bus. I take the bus currently. But unfortunately, that was the reason why I couldn't stream on Thursday, was because I'm like, my schedule's like, I don't actually know when I'm gonna get home, and I don't know if I can actually plan around a stream like this. I could like go home, just like, throw on the streaming equipment, but like I said, I don't know how tired I'd be. I don't know, like, it's like I still need to eat food and I still need to get ready for work the next day. It's better to,
you gotta work out your planning and everything.
Yeah, so it's better to lock down my schedule, make sure that I have room to plan around everything. And it is, yeah. So like right now, Lucky has to get up around 6:15. He's out the door by 7. Usually at his job by 7:15. He works a lot. Leaves at 3:45. Has to wait 15 minutes for a bus, and then is usually home by 4:15. Yay. This is usually noted by Lucky screaming, "I'm home," in the general chat. And I have weekends off, which is always a plus.
Yeah. And I know that some people will probably be like bothered, because that means that obviously you guys aren't doing listings or inventory or whatever on the weekends, or at least you're not. I don't know if there's a weekend shift, or
there's no weekend shift.
Okay, everyone, you guys completely close up.
Yep.
And I know that technically some people find that bothersome, but it's just how it is.
It's just how it is.
Like, heck, I mean, I'm pretty sure that I see people do that even when they were doing like purely online stuff. Like, I don't know why, probably because somebody needs to eyeball it, but like, I've always seen, even in our current situation, like, stuff about like money and certain types of deliveries do like, 1 to 3 business days. And when they say business days, they mean it. Nobody looks at that stuff on a weekend. And I'm like, I can't really be mad. I wouldn't want to look at it on a weekend either.
Oh wait, it's shopgoodwill.com. Excuse me. Because actually, no, it's actually pretty cool. Let's see, what do we have here? I'm just looking on the fucking website right now. Actually, can I filter by sellers?
I'm not really going crazy on purchases for reasons.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Though we can talk about some of that too today, because
go for it.
Well, so Sony finally talked about backwards compatibility for realsies.
Yes, they did.
I think it was a little hidden on their support page, but the word still got out, so I don't know if they like told journalists or whatever, but it got there. And so they clarified how it'll work if you have PS4 games. And honestly, it's but simple, it sounds like. The complex part comes with saves, but we'll talk about it at the end. So if you own a PS4 disc, and you own a PS5 with a disc drive, which is the kind I've pre-ordered, because, for this reason, you put the disc in, you push button, PlayStation will give you the Game Boost, the PS5 compatible version of it. It'll link it to that disc, just like installing it on your PS4, because it's been like a million years since I had a game run clear off the disc with like little to no install. So,
yeah, no, that's usually what it is install something and the game just runs concurrent to whatever
the disc basically contains the install file so you can install the game even if you're not online, and links it to the disc so you can play it without worrying about other licenses. So PS5 works the same way. You put in the disc, you hit the button, PS5 version of the game installs, it's linked to your disc, you can play it. Good job. If you have a digital game, supposedly, if you already own it, if you're signed into your PlayStation Store or network account, you can just hit the upgrade button and download the PS5 version.
Okay.
I'm hoping that's going to work with all my PS Plus back library, because I got a lot of games on there. But yeah, so it's really simple. Just there'll be a button that says upgrade, you'll click it, they'll give you the new version, and a lot of stuff should be backwards compatible out of the date. Because, Lucky, they released a list of games that are not backwards compatible. It is 10. There are 10 games which are not backwards compatible. I know a lot of people, myself included, were a little worried when they said they would not guarantee complete backwards compatibility. But it turns out they're just 10 games, and I think most of them are crappy shovelware, which probably have defunct developers. The only thing I think sounded bigger was I'm pretty sure I've heard of WeSing before, and so that's probably got music licenses involved.
Probably.
And the other one was the remastered of Shadow Complex, which is a game I never played, but a lot of people were excited for. I don't know what happened with that, but that's probably got some other licensing weirdness. The rest were all, like, really obscure, crappy-sounding games, who I'm sure, like I said, were defunct developers, so they could not be relicensed. Yeah, so it's and I can pull up the list if people want to. Google auto-completed that really good.
Good job.
Let me see if I can pull it up. So, the games which are not will be DWVR, don't know what that is, Afro Samurai 2 Revenge of Kuma Volume 1. Oh, the names, guys. TT Isle of Man - Right on the Edge 2. Just Deal With It! ! Shadow Complex Remastered. Robinson the Journey. WeSing. Hitman Go Definitive Edition, which sounds a little weird. I don't know why that one is not backwards compatible. Shadwen and Joe's Diner. So, yeah, there's like a couple of games that sound bigger, but mostly it's just nothing games. So that's pretty cool. It sounds like it'll be a pretty comprehensive, backwards compatibility. It is only the PS4 library, but at least they've locked that one in.
I definitely would like that they also got the PS3 library in there.
Yeah, but I still understand why, right? Because the PS3's architecture was so different. Hence why they stopped eventually they stopped making PS3s emulate PS2, because that's what they had to do, right? Like the hardware wasn't compatible at all. They had to build a PS2 emulator into the 3. But yeah, so it seems like it's gonna be a pretty interesting and useful thing. The only thing is save games are a little more finicky. Basically, they can share over Wi-Fi, like wirelessly, and you can plug LAN cables in there. Or you can include a storage media. So if you have your save games on a external storage device, you can just plug that into a PS5 and it'll figure them out. Or if you have PS Plus cloud saves, those are all compatible. So that's probably what I'm gonna do a lot of, is make sure I got my shit backed up on the cloud. Yeah. So yeah, and it seems overall pretty simple. They've also been doing some hardware reveals. Everybody, hey, spoilers! If you haven't seen this video, the PS5 is bigger than you think.
Oh yeah, it is. Jesus,
it's a big boy. That's probably so it can stay fairly cool and quiet. Because that's another thing
they
been
showed
talking about. It's way quiet. So yeah, I think they also did some take aparts. I haven't really looked into that, but apparently the hardware's pretty good.
The PlayStation actually did an official take apart. But they actually had a Japanese dude talking as they disassembled it. They showed how far you can go before avoiding the warranty.
Well, it is a big deal.
Yep. They showed off like several things. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was oddly soothing. It was just.
Well, I mean, that's why people like that shows like how it's made and stuff. Which, by the way, if you've never watched How It's Made, I watched a lot of that back when we had cable TV, because Discovery Channel would run like 4 of those in the afternoon or whatever. It's like, and here's how you make soccer balls. Here's how you make toothbrushes. There's just something soothing about seeing things assembled and disassembled. So orderly.
Very orderly.
But, yeah, in general, it seems like we're doing okay.
Yeah.
You know, they've answered a lot of questions as they're close. I saw some... I will preface this, even as a guy who likes PlayStation, this is a very small sample size. But apparently a group did a poll, and it seems like people in general are more interested in PS5 right now than Xbox. Out of people polled, then there was only like 500, so like I said, small sample size. But like half of them did pre-order a next-gen console, and it was PS5. And then out of those who didn't, like 70% of them were trying to pre-order PS5s, split between the disc and discless version. So it's like, there's a lot of interest in PS5, it sounds like, right now. Which is slightly concernicus, because on the one hand, does that mean that that's good that it's going to do successful? Sony's really talking about they're going to sell a lot. But that also makes it concernicus about inventory. Will there be enough PS5s? The answer is no, by the way. There will not be enough.
No, they haven't. PlayStation, Sony did say that they were going to try and increase the amount after the pre-order fiasco, I'm going to fucking call it, because I didn't get one.
No, I know. Well, those are always a fiasco. Like, Xbox launched their pre-orders like a week later, and they had the same thing, where everybody was like randomly out of stock or whatever.
But they did say that they were going to try and get more out, but I haven't heard any word on that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody like exploding on the internet about it. And even if you've got a pre-order, that's not a guarantee. Like, I think about a week after I locked mine in, Amazon sent me an email, which is like, hey, did you know there's a high demand for this item you pre-ordered? We might not be able to get it to you on the date it's released. And I'm just like,
Yeah, so, I don't know. Actually, I need to lock in my Cyberpunk, because they did, like, now that I know how it's gonna work, I'm like, oh, okay. It's, like, I do like this idea of, oh no, you're just upgrading to the PS5 version. I'm like, oh.
Well, and it makes, like you said earlier, talking about disc installs, it makes sense. You don't, like, play the game data raw off the disc anymore. Those days are long gone. So this is just like, oh, you own a disc for this PS4 game physically? Or you own the license digitally if you're doing, like, of a digital game. Okay, well, we'll just give you the PS5 version, because we've got that.
Yeah.
And that means that you'll be able to, like, do better frame rates, better graphics, other enhancements. I saw another place talking about Ghost of Tsushima is working up to their 1.1.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll include the new multiplayer mode, and it will also include New Game Plus. Don't know exactly what's in New Game Plus, but they're talking about, like, new cosmetic dyes, which I'm kind of excited about. Because I felt like there were some color palettes missing from certain outfits. And some other stuff. I wouldn't mind maybe it'll be a while. I only just beat the game, but I wouldn't mind, like, a New Game Plus to, like, try out some different stuff. But also, the PS5 upgrade version is going to be, like, running in 60 FPS and all that.
Going to make a game even more beautiful. A beautiful game even more beautiful. I'm like, that's delicious.
Yeah. And I've always not been super fussed about the frame rate. Like, I've been able to, like, watch videos in 60 frames for quite a while, thanks internet. And I'm just like, it's alright. But it's good to see that they are doing the effort to, like they could be really lazy, right? And just be like, oh, well, I guess we can make it so you can play it on the new console. But no, they're like, no. We're gonna make a new version for this console that meets the new hardware spec. We're not just gonna half-ass it.
Yeah.
Solid choice. So, PS5s are cool.
Yep, I hope I can get one.
Speaking of Cyberpunk, they just went gold, which I believe, they did their master editions. So.
Yeah, gold basically means that the game is officially done and is being produced for distribution.
Yeah. I think they're still working on, like, hunting down bugs for maybe, like, day one patching for anything they missed. So this was interesting. They caught a little bit of flack about the C word, the evil crunch time, over the past couple of weeks, because apparently they asked people to work an extra day, to work 6 days a week rather than 5, to kind of, before that going gold, and maybe in that post-process, to hunt bugs and, like, finish the polish on the project. And Jason Schreier, who now works with Bloomberg and some other people, kind of immediately jumped on that as like, oh, is this crunch? Are we crunching? Are we abusing our workers? And some of the guys from CD Projekt Red, from what I understand, actually shot back and were kind of like, no, this isn't like what you think is like some evil capitalist overlord sitting there like counting his money and smoking while we slave away. Like, apparently CD Projekt Red gives 10% of their yearly earnings to employees directly. Solid choice.
Wow.
So, like, no, they're invested in this too, is what it sounds like. I'm not gonna say that, like, as we just said, working an extra day on the weekend, yeah, probably sucks a little, but CD Projekt Red is usually pretty good about a lot of stuff. I assume they're being, compensated correctly, and it's not an overt burden. It definitely seems like right now we're having a little bit of a hot button about the C word and about workers in the industry and prices and stuff, and it feels like maybe that somebody was trying to I think even some of the comments actually about the article actually came back and were like, "Oh, you're just trying to like massage this story for your ideological views. We're not actually that, it's not that rough." I think Axe had a good one in comments talking about how like the crunch on their games is like it's going to be like 1 month every 5 years, right? Like,
yeah,
it's only at the end they're asking for this extra day, and this game's been in development a long time.
Like, here's the thing, like, nothing goes, like, smoothly all the fucking time. And there's some points where you're gonna have to sit down, strap in, and fucking put your nose to the grindstone for a while.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think there is like a concern, a risk of the evil crunch with certain games, like I don't want to shit talk Jason Schreier necessarily. He's actually like got a lot of I believe he has strong ideological opinions, but he's got a lot of journalistic integrity for games media, which is saying something.
Oh yeah, no, like I follow him on Twitter, and I laugh at him occasionally. But
and you haven't been blocked yet?
Nope.
You probably don't talk to him.
No.
Jason Schreier, by the way, kids, is infamously known for if you say anything that bothers him at all, he will block you because I've heard him say it. His basic opinion is just like, I don't got time for those people. If people if people are gonna come at me with bad opinions, I just don't. And I'm like, I can respect that.
No,
I don't necessarily agree, but I respect the sentiment. But his book, which I've read, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, talks about a lot of video game developments, and like, no, some of them get very intense and very rough. Yeah, Axe is bringing up the like love for your job and stuff. Like, this wasn't technically in the book. I think this is in a big article, though. He wrote kind of an expose on Anthem and how it turned out so fucked up, right? Where he talked about how like they were talking about like BioWare polish, BioWare dedication, like playing to people's pride in the work of the company and being like, yeah, of course you can work 120 hours a week. You can polish this turd. Never mind, we have no idea what the fuck we're doing.
Yeah, see, that's one. Lucky has gotten fired from jobs because he has said like, no, I'm not about that. I'm about.
That's the unfortunate thing that can still happen.
Yeah,
right? Like
when people talk about like, oh, but you need love of the job. You need to, be loyal and dedicated. It's like, I want to live and have a life and do stuff.
Yeah, and that's what they're preying on. Like the thing they want to say is like, do this job or you're fired, basically.
Yeah.
But they can't say it that way because guess what? As much as we complain about how much of a post late period capitalism hellhole we are in, there are still technically some laws about that stuff which do occasionally get procced.
Yeah.
If you just like, hey, I want you to work 11 billion hours without any additional compensation because you love your job. What? No. And I'm reasonably certain they're not supposed to be able to fire you for that, for just being like, well, you're not a team player.
Yeah, no. If they do, you can literally go to, like, you can get, like, unemployment, like, real easy off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, fun fact, Lucky, lives and works in Washington State. What do we fucking call it? Oh, yeah, we have at-will policies. At-will policies means that, you can be hired and fired at will, and it goes both fucking ways. So you can be fired for any reason without repercussions, but you can also quit for any reason without repercussions. But you can still go after them and say, if the reason that they fired you was unethical, you can still, take them through the ringer. So, and let me tell you right now, telling people that they have to work without pay will definitely put them through the ringer. So they try.
And that's honestly why those companies probably try to go with like, come on, you love your job though, right? Like you love the work, like they're trying to basically psychologically manipulate you.
Yep.
And also why that's been like an issue for a long time. And I don't know, like I think the famous statement by Nintendo of it was I think it was Miyamoto said, a delayed game is delayed for a little bit, a bad game is bad forever.
Yes.
Even if it's not strictly true. I hear they've really cleaned up No Man's Sky, guys. It's still, in the public perception, it's still very true. Because people still make jokes about shit like No Man's Sky, even though, as I heard, it's a pretty decent game. And actually, honestly, I was interested in that game even in its vanilla form because I understood what it was going to be and didn't buy into the hype because I have learned my slightly cynical lesson that when a game developer tells you that a game is going to do everything, it's going to cure cancer, it's going to raise your kids for you, all that stuff, I'm just like, yeah, sure it is, buddy. And do I get to do space stuff though? And he's like, yeah, no, there's space stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm there. So I've been following that game for a while and still haven't picked it up and probably won't for a while, but the price has actually gone back up recently. Like, it's stabilized back up to, like, normal-ish prices. So, I think people are kind of turning around. But yeah, so, Cyberpunk is also one of those games that a lot of people were like, it's going to be the second coming of Jesus Christ, Cyberstar, all that stuff. Don't know about that, but it does seem like from all the trailers and all the work they're doing, it's going to be a very well-polished game. You're going to get a lot of your first-person RPG experience. You're going to do a lot of fun stuff. Got a lot of interesting options for customization, for combat, whatever. It'll be fun and have a lot of replayability. Okay, what's our time at? It's about 30 minutes. Spent some 30 minutes on video games. Got the big thing about PS5 I wanted to get out of the way.
I can talk a little bit more about video games. So PlayStation Plus this month came out with Vampire. Or Vampire.
Vampire.
Vampire. It's with a Pyre.
Yeah, they got the Y in there.
Yep. And Need for Speed Payback. And Lucky has tried both of them.
Oh, both already? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I played, fun fact, when Lucky, I started my job, Wednesday, so I literally didn't sleep because I'm going back off a mostly, staying up till 4 a.m. schedule to now I need to wake up at 6 a.m. I'm just like, if I go to sleep, I'm not going to wake up. I know I'm not. I know
it's a fair move.
So I stayed up and I spent that night playing Vampire. And to say this the nicest, I think this is a game that kind of took a shot and missed. It's not a bad game, but I think it wasn't, what's the word I want to use here? It's not well guided. Alright, so story is pretty simple. You are in basically, was it 1918? 1918 London.
Yeah.
You are smack dab of the Spanish flu, the big epidemic.
Yeah, World War I has just ended. The Spanish flu is upset. I actually saw some people play the game a little bit, and I'm interested in it.
Yeah,
myself.
And you're a field medic. You're a world famous surgeon, or at least country's famous surgeon, who gets got immediately and die. Bleh. You wake up in a fucking mass grave. You have an intense hunger for blood. And shit just goes from there.
Pretty classic vampire starter pack.
Yeah. You eventually end up working in a hospital, and you are out to figure out the mysteries of all the shit and why it's happening. Now, I didn't get super far. I didn't. This game plays as a action RPG in its most basic form, and you get vampire powers. Kind of interesting, and they do have an interesting mechanic. So, the game is XP. Well, I want to say XP. It's point buy. You gain experience, and you can use that experience to buy powers and upgrades. Axe, be quiet. I'm talking. Now you can get XP through talking and combat and whatnot, but it's a slow trickle. If you want to get the big gain, you have to kill and embrace citizens. People that you can actually talk to, who can have effects on events, who can, have side quests and stuff. You have to feed on them. Where you're getting, maybe 10, 15, 20 experience from combat and something, embracing someone gives you something like 2,000 experiences. And so it's a temptation. It's a big temptation. And I kind of like it. The only, and they also have another layer on is depending on someone's health and how much you know about them, you can get even more experience out of them. So the game is
kind of incentivizes you to get to know people and then eat them.
Yes, I'm just like, this is very interesting, but I don't want to do that because that's how you get people fucking suspicious and stuff. So no, I'm gonna fly under the radar. And things are a little hard because you are literally operating at bare minimum strength, and it's definitely manageable. I said it's an action RPG, so a little bit of skill goes into it, but you find yourself often having to wail very long on things to take them down. So I'm like, but I still think it's doable. There's a lot of people to talk to, and this is where I think it's one of the hiccups. There's a lot of people to talk to, and because you have to want to try to figure out their hints to, find out stuff about them, because sometimes when you talk to them, they'll talk about other people, and then, unlock hints about them, and you can find out things here and there.
If I remember rightly, it's a dialogue wheel type game, so yeah,
Yes.
It's got the classic interaction of like, oh, you did X quest, or talk to X person. You can open dialogue option Y.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of that, and again, a lot of it doesn't actually lead to anything because it's just opening up hints, so you learn more about them, so that their blood is that much tastier, apparently, and you get more experience. I'm like, but if you're not doing that, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like, it feels like...
And who knows, you said you only played a little bit, maybe that's kind of like a slow burn thing, where it's got like a payout later, but...
I don't know, but see, so a lot of payout is actually on embracing. There is, like, no actual payout on not embracing. And, like, I guess that's what the point is, yes, this is the temptation to fall into the dark side. Become the monster. I'm like, yeah, cool, sure. But what if I don't want to do that? Do I need to, in a video game, I should say, in a video game, should I be made to suffer for being a good person? I'm like,
Well, and it's
like,
got that classic. That's one of those big vampire fiction flags.
Yeah,
It's like, do I just eat people, or do I only drink free range chicken blood kind of thing?
Well, actually, like, here's the thing. Because here's the crazy thing. You can bite people in combat, drain their blood in combat, but you don't actually get experience on that. It's only when it's a fucking civilian. Like, I have bit, like, there's a militia of vampires hunter in town, and I bite the ever living fuck out of them. I don't get any experience, like, extra experience out of it.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, I feel like that's probably, at least, like, I understand why not, but for the purposes of verisimilitude, that sounds like a slight oversight. Like, even if it's small, you should do, like, a little bit of combat EXP gain, maybe?
Yeah. So, there's that. And here's the other thing that slightly bugs me, which I feel like the game's a little off the mark. They say the game is a game of consequences, and it has no manual save file. It's only an autosave. Basically, as soon as you take an action, it is saved and you can't take it back. Which is fair, but unfortunately, it has a thing of sometimes the actions that that you take are vague, and what you think you're doing, you're not actually doing. For example, I just reached into the chapter and I had 3 choices. Either I could charm a person and make them forget forget an event. I could either embrace them and kill them, or I could just, talk to them and tell them they had to quit their job and had to resign. But, I would spare them. Now, I wanted this person to stay at the job because we're in an epidemic. We're in the middle of an epidemic, and I need all the fucking help I can get. So I chose to charm them and hope that they would forget everything they knew about this problem we were having. So I charmed them. I'm like, all right, cool, great, awesome. Next day, the person was just gone. They just vanished. They just left. I'm like, why? Where? What? And I'm just like, I can't even right now. I fucking can't even. And that's what kills me. Like, did I charm them so hard that they just became comatose and left? Did they become something else?
Is it the thing of like, oh, well, they have to go away no matter what. They can't be important.
Yeah.
Because you can kill them, so you gotta keep going, and then they fuck off.
Yeah, so I'm just, like, again, so, like, this is, like, this multiple chances. Like, is it actually multiple choices? It's just the flavor that I did it. I'm just like, So that killed my interest, a lot of it. But I said, it's combat is a little clunky. I would say.
Well, I mean, and also, like, I've seen it played in some of the combat. I'm not sure how you would do, I'm a 1920s vampire action RPG without it being weird, right? Like, I'm actually quite interested to see Vampire Bloodlines 2.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking like they have like a lock-on feature, but you have to use it. Otherwise, you just start swinging at random fucking shit, and it gets real.
Oh yeah,
fun.
so my slight problem with Ghost of Tsushima, where if I forget to point in a direction, I'll just be like, "Why did you swing over there? I'm not touching the stick at all."
Yes. And because like I said, and the vampire powers, like you can't really go ape shit with vampire powers because you have your health, you have your stamina, and then you have your blood. All your vampire abilities are trained off the blood, and you either have to do a comp, and to get blood, you either have to fucking eat rats. Because that's a great idea. Yeah, let me just snack on rats in the middle of a fucking epidemic. This is a great idea.
You're a vampire. You don't worry about Spanish flu.
No, but what if I do? I don't know. Just because I'm a vampire doesn't mean I can't get sick. Doesn't mean I can't die. Or, you have to do bites in mid-combat, which is a whole nother mechanic where you have to stun somebody and then run up to them and be like, "Rom," to get blood back. And so it's like, and like one of the first powers I picked was claws. It's just like, you just give him a claw. You just give him the rake, and I'm just like, yeah, cool. Does a lot of damage. Still has like a 3-second cooldown. I'm like, that's not as cool. Now I have to run around like beating at fucking dudes wearing armor and wielding flamethrowers and torches and stuff with a fucking hacksaw that I'm not able to upgrade because they barely give me stuff to upgrade equipment. Because they do have you don't have any armor, but they do give you a variety of weapons. Like I found like truncheons. You find in the beginning, you find a cheap machete. You can upgrade it a little bit. Then you can find like a bone saw. You find a revolver. I just bought a shotgun. Stuff like that. But like I said, the enemy is infinite, and you're just one vampire. So I can't say that I don't like the game, but like I said, it's not something that's like it's not something that's pushing me to keep playing it more and more.
Yeah, and if I remember rightly, like I think Axe mentioned something about sounds indie. I think actually it was made by like a smaller studio.
So
there are lots of games that kind of they're fun, but also they pop weird. I have fond memories of Alpha Protocol, for instance, but also I remember that game was very weird about stuff. Like interactions with things, and sometimes doing certain things or getting certain results was kind of finicky. And then there were certain combat powers which were like crazy good, and some that were not. It was a good concept for a game that could have used a little bit more polish, and then just didn't. I think was that.
Yeah, I can definitely say. I feel like this game could use a lot more polish. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
But hey, it's free, so
it's free. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna wrap up Squadrons next week because I know the story's not very long, and I've already put like 6 or 7 hours into it, and we're kind of winding up to a climax. So, pretty sure it can't have much more in it. So I already said this earlier, but I'll reiterate. I am planning on streaming some Vampire, since it is free, on maybe a couple of my stream days. So I'll let the audience check it out, and I'll see for myself. Because like I said, I've seen it played. I think I agree with you because I read about it a decent amount when it came out and when I was interested. It sounds like it has a lot of good concepts, but maybe has limitations to its execution, probably because they didn't have $20 bajillion in budget to like extend development and all that stuff. It will be very interesting to compare though, because like I said, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is coming out soon-ish. I don't know when, but sometime.
Eventually.
This year even? It's on the slot. They talk about that like a couple years ago. And that's kind of be interesting because that's like that's almost more in the vein of like Cyberpunk because it looks like it's got like the first person, wandering around and stuff. It's modern. It's going to be set in Seattle. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what they do there because the OG Masquerade Bloodlines has a lot of stuff about it. It's a game I've tried to play several times, but man, it's one of those games. Like I've tried to play the original Deus Ex a few times too, and that's just like, oh, you didn't pick the exact optimal build to start? Well, enjoy dying to terrorist mooks, nerd, or being lost because this is a role playing game. You have to explore and talk to everybody. I'm just like, oh god. I'll admit, modern video games have spoiled me in a lot of ways as a person who's been playing games for a long time. But also, damn, it's so much better when you, even if it's just vague shit. Like we might talk more about Genshin in a little bit, but like even when you're doing like problem solving in Genshin Impact, it's because there's a lot of exploration. It's usually like, hey, go to this general area and look for something, anything, and And, like, if you need to use your elemental sight, they almost always tell you, hey, you have elemental eyes, don't you? Look around. I'm like, okay, I'll do that thing. Which is 90% used for quests for no reason, but whatever. So, yeah, it's... I think it's better when you can at least easily point characters in the right direction. You know? I even had complaints about a couple of, like, weird subquests in Breath of the Wild that were like, why are you centering me only on this guy and not the general area of where I need to go? Like, I think it's because Breath of the Wild didn't have area waypoints, did it? I don't think it had zone waypoints. That was a feature they really should have added, because that would have, for that game, that would have been good of just like, hey, I don't need you to go specifically here, but I need you to go to this area-ish. And like I said, I don't need to be told exactly where to go, at least by a mini-map. Like, I'm okay with just, like, somebody telling me, like, to actually talk about Genshin a little, I did, I'm sure you've run into it because everybody else on the server is, like, way ahead of me. Like, people are yelling about, collecting, Geocules, and I'm just like, not there yet. But there's, the sealed graveyard, like, the sword grave with the seals. That doesn't give you waypoints to where you need to go to fix it, but you talk to the lady and she's just like, yeah, it's in those camps up there, and you look on the map and you're like, gee, are the camps these weirdly circular regions which are just right here, which all contain a shitload of enemies? Yes, they are. Like, they center you in the right area, like they don't make you leave and go to another area, and it's really easy to pick up from just environmental clues and in-game text to be like, hey, you should explore these areas and find the thing that does the thing. And then I opened it up and got some sword bits. Yay. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see Vampire. What about Need for Speed before we move on to anything else?
So Need for Speed, I haven't played long. Now, unfortunately, Lucky's gonna say he's not a big fan of racing games in general.
I have mixed feelings about racing games too.
Like,
my favorites were. Did you like Need for Speed Underground?
I never played. This is the first Need for Speed game I've ever played.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, so that's why I'm kind of going into it late. So Lucky usually likes games where he can shoot other cars or wreck other cars. I'm that kind of player. I'm real good at wrecking cars. All right. Fortunately,
well, and also it's one of those few things, right? Because like if you cannot get rid of other people, it's very hard. Like, it's just basically pure skill and memorization, right?
Yes.
Because the only thing you can do is be better than the arbitrary level of the AI.
Yes. So I usually like. I usually play that. So I liked, like I said, Jack X Combat Racing has always been a big love for me. Mario Kart and the Burnout series. I fucking love the Burnout series. The whole point of that game is, hey, I need you to crash into other cars and make them crash as awesomely as possible. And if you happen to win while you do that, that's great too. Literally, Burnout. Usually, I think like some of the latest ones. Well, no, it was not Paradise, but one of the other ones literally has saying, all right, say take this car, and I need you to launch it and do as much damage as possible. And then we'll see how much that would cost in insurance, and that's your score. I'm like, awesome. But, so Need for Speed, it lets me wreck police cars. I'm like, okay, this is good. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's fishtailing cars. I'm very good at it.
The pitch maneuver.
Yes. But I haven't played a racing game in a while, so I'm not doing the greatest at it. Now, I don't blame the game for this. I don't. I blame myself for my skills. But again, seems like I have it on medium difficulty because surprisingly, this is a game that actually has difficulty levels of easy, medium, hard. I'm like, this is good. This is good. If I ever feel like
I appreciate that for a racing game.
Yes.
Usually it's just like, get good, scrub.
Yes. So, like, I do appreciate this, but I'm in what is basically, I'm guessing is a story mode. I don't know. Have you played, how many Need for Speed games have you played, Omega?
So I brought up Underground. I played those, which did have the story.
Okay, yeah, so there's a story. It's called Payback, so clearly you've been fucking betrayed.
Yeah, it's a slight elephant in the room, but I feel like a lot of car genres have been influenced by the fact that Fast and Furious is a thing. But heck, Underground was, but that was back when there were only 2 Fast and Furiouses, and it was about street racing and your sweet neons and sick rims, not hitting helicopters with cars or whatever. Go in space, I don't know. I really need to sit down and watch those movies, but I've only ever watched the first 3, which are the ones everybody hates.
Yeah, I need to do it too. One day, it's gonna be like a Lord of the Rings marathon.
Oh, it would be at this point. Like, you can spend an entire day watching Lord of the Rings extended editions. There's like 8, 9 Fast and Furious movies. So, yeah. They're coming out with a game, too, which looks weird.
Yeah, it does look weird. Anyway,
yeah. Need for Speed.
So, right now I haven't, like, I'm in the story. I haven't, like, one of the things I've always liked about racing games is the ability to customize my own vehicle and tune with it and play with it. I haven't unlocked any of that. I don't know if it's going to happen. I hope it is. I think it is, but wherever I am in the story.
I would assume you have to, because that's definitely one of those, like, fundamental car things, right? If you're a car guy playing a car game, you need to be able to pick and tune your car, right?
Yes. So I haven't got to that part. I haven't got that far in the game, really. Like, I've only gone, like, I've gone past what I would consider the prologue and, like, a few races into that. It's technically an open world game. As these city level racing games are nowadays. So, like, it looks like you can go do, like, you have, like little activities, like, you could, go for jump distance on certain laps. You have to go, like, super fast through, like, speed traps and get your time clock, because I don't know why you think that's a great idea.
It's probably a thematical thing. Like,
yeah, it's a game, but if you go real fast through a speed trap, that means they usually took a picture of your plates, and you're getting a very angry letter in the mail. Well, it's not angry, but it's gonna cost you something. Anyway, and like I said, right now I say I'm just doing some minor races. Like, cars are being, like, I'm using certain cars and I haven't got unlocked, but it seems okay. Like, this racing games are one of those games that, like, I honestly think I don't like playing with a controller. I don't like playing with a keyboard. I'm one of those guys who's like, I would actually like the fucking steering wheel or a fucking joystick, something that I could actually make small, minute adjustments instead of like fat thumbing the
Yeah, analog sticks are cool, but they are a little small. I got you.
They're a little small.
I played a decent amount of Cruising USA in the front of a Walmart before.
Yeah, trust me, Lucky is one of those guys that he's at a bowling alley and he sees an initial D fucking arcade and he's like, I'm fucking there. Man, I'm so glad that they never really got big, but the fucking initial D games where they fucking print a card and you can keep your fucking data on it is the best. I fucking love it. Oh my god, so great. So yeah, I have to. This is what I'm talking about. Like, my skills. Like, I have to get better at, like, not so much fat thumbing my my analog sticks. I have to get better with the the minute adjustments. And
hey man, I know the feel. I've been playing a lot of Squadrons, and I am getting my butt kicked online a lot.
Oof.
I haven't found my pocket strategy yet. What I've observed is that people online never throttle down because that makes you too easy to shoot. So I've had to, like, readjust to, like, okay, full throttle all the time. Oh, I missed him. Well, I guess I'll just circle around, because in single player, what you do is the game even tells you can be more maneuverable at half throttle. So I would usually, like, all right, I'm going to throttle down and turn around. Against real people, usually I get shot. So I'm still trying to find. And there's, speaking of customization, right? Like, Squadrons obviously has a lot of technical customizations in what suits. So I'm, like, still unlocking all my different upgrades and installs so I can find the right combo for me. But yeah, like, there's definitely a little bit of a control adjustment to, like, figuring out what you're doing and where you're going with stuff.
Yes. So I'm probably, like I said, I'm probably gonna play more Need for Speed Payback later, and I'll give more thoughts about it. But again, they're both free on PlayStation Plus this month. So if
I've already added them to my library. I haven't downloaded yet, but I added them.
Yeah, check them out. You might enjoy them more.
And I definitely will. Like I said, I'm gonna work through Squadrons. Obviously, gonna play that pretty decently. Having a lot of fun. Watch my streams.
All right,
remember the old demonetization. I'm trying to work through, like, processing to, like, lower music or mute stuff, but it's so, like, slow going that it's almost not worth it for some of these, because it has to, like, do a lot of work. So yeah, the monetization on those will be very, very sketchy. But yeah, I'll definitely look into, obviously, like I said, gonna stream Vampire, and I will probably, because I have played some Need for Speed in the past. It's been a while, though. I will check out what Payback is about. Yeah. I think the only other gamey type thing I've been thinking about is, so I had a conversation about Three Houses again, actually, recently. And that really got me thinking about, man, I really liked Three Houses, though. And I never did actually, I was planning on it, and I want to, just because I love the game and think it should be supported. I never did actually buy the DLC pack and, like, do either the standalone DLC or any of the other extra shit. So I'm thinking about when I clear my backlog, I always have this thing. I'm like, no, okay, you can't do that yet. You gotta work through some things. But I am actually thinking it is in my budget because it's only like $25 for the pass, and I think I can just, rather than finagle the store, I have to like double check on the Switch store how like adding a code does. But you can also like buy the digital code like off Amazon. And I'm wondering if that might not be easier than like, because I've never taught my Switch like my billing information or anything like that, and it always like it has trouble connecting to my internet and shit. Like to visit the store, so I'm wondering if it might be easier. I gotta figure that out if I really want to do some shit. Because I'm still, I don't know when, but I still want to play. I want to do some streams of that Clubhouse 51 game with you, Lucky, but that would require both of us to get it. But play some.
Man, we were home. Still got Untitled Goose Game to get through.
Yes, which we both have. I think I have installed on this machine. I'll double check that some other time. It's not urgent right now.
No, it's not.
But yeah, we are set up to try and stream that. We just need to actually get it set up and see if anything explodes. Usually it doesn't. Usually I say that as kind of a knock on wood thing, but sometimes stuff doesn't work, even for dumb reasons. Though, like right now, I don't know. I mean, right now we're Discording, I am recording, and have been for about an hour, and I am playing Azure Lane in the background. So
I am playing. I'm playing Azure Lane, Miho, and I'm in this call. So
yeah, no, we're doing great, guys. Okay, well, we talked for now like an hour about video games.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some gacha stuff now?
Yeah, let's talk about some gacha stuff. Let's start with Arknights because I feel like we can get through this a lot quicker. So with Arknights, Lucky spent more money because he's an idiot, but he was able to get a Rosa, so now I have the student council president, which is great. I might have rolled her just because she was a student council president.
It's cool, I did not spend any money, and I got myself back up to 6,000 Originum, and I did a roll on that banner, and I got nothing over 4 stars, and nobody knew, so, yeah.
That's a big rip.
Our Arknights says, I don't know why, but they decided they no longer like me. Maybe it's because I haven't played story in like a month. I'll get to Chapter 5 someday. I'm, like, leveling everybody, because everybody yells about how much it sucks, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just got my bagpipe to E2 today, and popped her up to level 30. The only thing I don't...
I did that last time. I have actually done the E2 on the Silver Ash now. It's actually happened. Nice. So I got my anti-bullshit weapons ready.
I do enjoy bagpipe. I just wish she was block 2 standard. It's like, God,
I used during contingency contract, I used a decent amount of support bagpipe, and definitely also felt that, like even if there are some units, like, Granny does the same thing, right, where she goes to block 2 when you use her skill, I'm still just like, but could you just be Siege and block 2 normally?
Yeah. But as I said, I got her on D2, I like her. Like, her trick is, she just has to kill things fast enough before another one comes. I'm like, yeah, no, that works. Fair enough. So, there's that. Shoot, what was the even name of the fucking Ursus event?
God, what is the name, actually? Shit, I completely forgot. My phone's not on me.
Children of Ursus, thank you.
Something, yeah.
And anyway, I actually haven't... So, they recently update so that you actually have the archive now, so you can look back on old events and whatnot. They came out with a new item, the information reels. If you've been playing for a while and you've gone through some of the older events, they gave you enough information reels to unlock the ones that you have done, and you get little medals for it. I'm like, yes, I love medals. Give me things to show off my things.
I've already got some medals. And also the medal system is how you get your free Indra or Vulcan.
Yes. So, there's that. Oh shit, there's like 3 treasures here? Holy shit. So, this event was the first time that they did this system, and you can just, instead of unlocking the stories, there it is, it took me a minute to think of a word, with like whatever it is, you just buy the information reels and unlock them. So I did that. I actually was able to clear the entire store, because while it did have event maps, you can just pick up the currency just by doing fucking anything.
And I love that Arknights does that usually. You can everywhere except Annihilation, you can usually, which also probably makes sense because usually the value of currency you get is equal to how much sanity you spend. So and Annihilation is weird about that, but yeah, you can just do anything and like farm chips, which I had to do a lot of for Silver Ash because he needed like two guard super chips, which means I had to farm like 8 double guard chips or whatever, which are split between specialist chip. It's a whole thing. Anyways, but I also earned a lot of currency, so I bought all my copies of Absinthe that way. And I also bought a lot of stuff. I also have not looked at the actual story yet, but I can look anytime because archive. Aha.
Yeah, no, so I can see where you're at about that. But like the thing about these events though is the maps will give you fucking free Prime, and I was like, oh, I probably should do that. Unfortunately, I didn't get them. I don't even know how many there were. I think I got to 5 before I was like, nah, I'm done.
Probably like 6.
Probably like 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah.
But and they have challenge modes. I only got the challenge mode done of 1 because I was all like, I'm sorry, Lucky's an idiot. You'll admit this. He will often solve problems of fucking a premium currency by buying more premium currency, even if he usually shouldn't. So he's usually not too fussed about making sure he gets every single free bit he can. Especially if none of them were like directly story related, that gives me even less incentive. If things are story related, I'll put in an effort because I like story, I like background, I like lore, I like all those good things. But if it's not, I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna go do something that I know I can do and it will actually benefit me more in the long run. That's how I was able to E2 Bagpipe. Actually, now that I get E2 Bagpipe, who should I work on next?
I shrugged, audience.
He did shrug. There was literally a treasure chest hidden underneath that crate. Why, game? Now I have to break everything. Thanks. But yeah, that's Arknights. So it's still going. I do want to point out, because we got some news coming down the pipe about a new operator in the CN version. Yes. Blemishine, who looks like she's basically 6-star Neural in more ways than one, and is super cool. And I can't wait for her to come out. Yep. So yeah, that's a cool one. I will be throwing down a little bit. She is super fluff.
And in general, she looks to be a big girl healing type defender. Stalls enemies, heals allies, does stuff. Okay.
And it's typing, so he either has some info or he's about to correct somebody. She is fluffy.
Facts. Cold, hard facts.
But I am excited for her as well. I don't know. Who knows how long it'll be before we get her.
Yeah, I mean, we're slightly sped up. Like, a lot of people are saying W and Weedy should be soon for us. Mm-hmm. Even though that was CN's anniversary. So, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But they have generally been speeding up, so. Because there was only, 9 months of lag anyway, I think. Like, that's the thing, like, in general, I'm against super sped up, like, gacha schedules. Like, that killed the Magia record, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, we're pretty sure that's what did it. Everybody lost interest because it was cruising it so fast, nobody had time to do anything. But when you've only got, like I said, 9 months of gap, you can actually catch up pretty good. Like, that's not awful. Like honestly, I can see that, especially because, I'm about to say, for FGO, because FGO also didn't do jack shit in its first couple of months anyway. Like, it was a very slow start. If they were that recent, we could totally have caught up. 2 years? No fucking way. Would have been nuts. Would have been crazy. And I know that some other servers have done that, but still, even then, they sound ludicrous, right? Like, they're doing, 2 or 3 big events at once.
If I remember correctly, Azure Lane kind of does an accelerated schedule, and sometimes we get global events.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to talk about with AL is weird because we're technically kind of accelerated in that they will give us new content right away, but if JP does a rerun, we'll get the first version of that event, right? Yeah. Sometimes. But also we get reruns at our own times and stuff because we're not having them yet. And actually, speaking of Azure Lane, Divergent Chessboard rerun coming up soon.
Oh no, it's not rerun.
Or is it War Rerun? War Archives?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. And they'll be permanently adding a lot of Ironblend ships.
I should be more specific. Yeah, so it's going to be added to War Archive, which I know a lot of people in our community are interested in because, like we said, Azure Lane is kind of accelerated, but kind of not. Because we're still, I don't think we're at a super fast pace. Like, we still get gaps, we get reruns of events and stuff. Mm-hmm. But we will also get new stuff sooner. But it feels like it took a while for people to bite on Azure Lane. Like, some people were all in right away, and some of those people no longer play. And other people were kind of slow burn or slowly massaged into it. So I know a lot of people have missed some of those early versions of events where you could only get certain ships. But AL does actually do kind of a slow burn to like reintroduce stuff through like war archives and stuff. I was playing basically since launch, so other than occasional things like, I gotta be honest, I've been doing other things. I've got like 3 or 4 other things to do, so I'm not done with this Eskimo event, and I did a couple of builds and it doesn't come out, so I don't know if I'm gonna hit however many billion points it is. I think it's actually only like 10,000. But let me check rewards. Yeah, I think it's at the end with 10k. But I'm also not done with the maps, so I don't know what how many runs that is. Because it's not quite a runs thing, right? Like you get points and you get bonuses for the points if you have, who is it? It's Foxhound and Warsprite, or Foxhound or Warsprite. In there, you earn additional badges, so it's interesting. But yeah, I just have been doing lots of other stuff in the week and haven't been logging in and whatnot. And again, I accept that about myself with Azure Lane. I'm not that intense of an AL player. I've accepted that to myself about Girls Frontline. I like Girls Frontline. It's cool. The gameplay and the new content just doesn't grab me enough. I am actually, honestly, I should probably unfollow them on Twitter just so I stop seeing the alerts, because I just keep seeing them like, this month, new unit. I'm like, I don't care at all. Jeez. Girls Frontline's about to do their Gunslinger Girl collab, and I'm just like, yeah. But now I play Genshin, so I have 4 games. Kind of. Genshin's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, I like it a lot, but compared to the general gacha atmosphere, it's very weird. I think we talked about this last week with the style and stuff. But yeah, do you have anything to say about AL, Lucky?
No, I've just been working slowly but surely.
Yeah, so we can transition to talking about the Genshin.
Genshin.
It exists.
Yeah,
I mean, I've always been a mad lad. Why do you say now? Like, I've blocked up to 4 for a long time. Technically, I dropped back down to 3 because I stopped really playing Girls Frontline, but I replaced it immediately. But yeah, so Genshin. I think they've been talking about future plans a little, but I don't know if we got any real super concrete stuff. They're still doing the Venti banner. I do not have a Venti.
I have a Venti, but I'm going to tell that why in a minute.
I occasionally try when I've got a little extra Primogens. Because, again, I don't really see any point in hoarding too much, right? I do have a bad... Well, okay. I want to say, I call it a bad habit, but it's not really, because I've noticed that there's... Genshin's really weird, right? Like, or not even weird, but like, it's got a very, very honestly, like, intense gacha element. Like, well, okay. Let me pause for a second. Let me stop playing Azure Lane for a sec so I can collect my thoughts on this. It's probably not that weird as far as, like, the general gacha ethos goes with its gacha. We just don't usually play those games. Those games that people complain about. Like, FGO's kind of bad with its, like, 1% SSR rate. But Genshin's is, like 0.6 for a 5-star?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's got a worse gacha rate than FGO, which is saying something, because a lot of people complain about how bad FGO's is, and it is kind of... It's low. I don't know if it's bad, but it's low. And it also has kind of the same CE problem where, like, weapons are gacha too, and they're the exact same gacha. And it's got the weird thing where, like, multiple copies are good. They're actually quite good, because, gee, your characters have this whole constellation thing, which is very large. There's a lot of nodes to upgrade, which you need spare copies for. Like, do different units even have, like, different constellation, like, numbers? I haven't actually checked that deep, because I've only gotten a couple of dupes.
Let me see here. Let me pull up some
constellations. Because I will say this, at the very least, in FGO, right, you only need a total of 5 copies to max NP, and that's all you need spares for, right?
It looks like everyone has 6.
Okay, so at least they all have the same number. That's good. But so, extra copies are actually pretty useful. And honestly, the game gives you a pretty decent spread through free stuff. But I do have a slightly a sassy habit of, like, rolling dupes, or I think I've rolled a couple of characters who you get for free. Like, I rolled a Barbara, but I heard later you get Barbara for free.
Yes.
I'm just like, okay. But then I'm like, I shouldn't be mad. That means I'm going to get Constellation stuff. That's probably a huge pain in the ass.
So...
I think I got a double null at one point. I've gotten 2 nulls. No else.
Fight me, gold nerd.
Wouldn't mind a little bit of the elemental variety. Wouldn't mind. Because I think I got like 3 fire guys. So I don't know if I'd outright call it terrible, but yeah, it definitely seems to be a throwback, right? Like if it almost feels like they didn't bother to do any of the usual gacha quality of life because the base game is so gamey and good.
Oh no, they have a pity system. I actually exploited that for my 2 5-stars. Basically the way it works is if there's a rate up, if you get the first time you get a 5-star, if it's not the rate up 5-star, the next one will be automatically. And if you don't get a 5-star within 90 rolls, you automatically get one in within that roll.
God, that's a lot of rolling, but okay.
It is a lot of rolling.
Because I was about to say, because you started with it, if you don't get the rate up 5-star, and I was going to say, so what if you've never gotten a 5-star?
Yeah.
Hi. Again, not like haven't spent any money on this. And I try not to bankrupt myself on Primogens. Like, I don't admittedly jump. Like, I don't have like, oh, I have exactly 1,600. I can immediately turn this into a 10 roll. Like, okay, I'll get a little bit more, and then I'll turn it into a 10 roll. But okay, it's good to hear that there's that. And also there's is that related to the stuff you get with everything? Like, you get the wish goo or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've noticed that every time you get something, it gives you a thing in addition to the thing, and I'm just like, what is it, like Masterless Stardust?
I think
Kinda
so,
like,
yeah.
I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, that is something I will say, is I feel like the gacha elements aren't super explained.
Yeah, no.
Like, they give you a tutorial role, they introduce you to the mechanic, they give you a starter banner so you can get Nolo, and then it's just like, okay, go, bye. Like, I don't think the game ever told me I could turn Primogens into wishing. Like, you guys told me that. And I was like, huh, neat. And who knows, I'm only, like, adventurer level 18, so, like, I don't know how much the game is, like, buried in there. I can't co-op now, I haven't bothered with anybody, because I know you guys are all way farther than me. So, like, it's still kind of a weird thing where there's a lot of stuff that's explained, but like I said, the gacha system almost feels tacked on. Like, oh yeah, we'll do this so you can get characters, but we'll give you free characters and blah 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 and blah 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 blah. You know,
I feel like they had to give like a lot of free characters because there's a lot of things in this game that rely on different elements and whatnot, like literally.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense. And honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that it seemed. Oh, actually, I don't know. Do you get like a Gene or a Dilak for free?
No Gene or Dilak for free.
I didn't think so because they're 5 stars. But I'm like, I feel like they kind of missed some opportunities because those guys are like big storyline characters. And it's like, that'd be really cool if you could get them for free. But you can get this librarian for free. She has the same voice actress as Kiara. I haven't actually watched that video, but there's a video of her out there streaming Genshin, playing
her character and moaning a lot. It's great. Tanaka is great. But like, so Lucky's gonna tell you right now, at this moment, on total, he has spent $120 on this game. 20 of it was for the battle pass, and 100 of it was for buying gems to make more rolls. I've made a total of 200 rolls.
A lot of rolls.
Wait, no, excuse me, 190 rolls.
I think I've done like... Okay, when you say 90, I assume that includes 10s. That's not like that's 19 10 spins, not 190 10 spins. Okay. In that case, I've probably done like 40 or 50, maybe?
Because as I said, when they explain because here's the thing, actually in the gacha page, they actually have a history that'll tell you all the things that you rolled in the gacha, and you can actually figure out how much
I should
you did
probably
that.
double check that sometime. That's a good mechanic.
Because people were telling me about the 90 rate, I looked at, it's like for each individual banner too, so I was like, alright, well let me see, if I'm close to 90 on one of them, I'll make up the difference. Turns out I was 60 on both of them, I was all like, that was like, it was too close to like not take advantage of it, in my opinion, so I was like, alright, I'll spend more money. They got you. They got me.
That said, though, I mean, not the worst. Well, like, at least they do have a pity system.
Well, actually, if it didn't, for some odd reason, I got my 5-star on my 90 roll on the regular banner. So,
who knows?
Who knows? I got Chi-Chi on that, which is the ice zombie lolly. I'm like, this is good. She is adorable. I love her.
Yeah, they have a lot of character bits and bobs out there. Like I did the subquest for. Oh God, I don't know the second half of her name. It starts with X though. Fire Panda. Fire.
What was it? Wasn't it Xialing?
Yeah, I think, like, I got her on a banner. I think it's one of the units I got, like, 2 of overall. Yeah, Zhenling. But I did all their quests, and like, that's adorable. We'll meet later. We'll hang out later. Like, they do a decent amount of, like, meeting people, working with people, kind of making you want units. I'm kind of actually surprised for reasons that, like, Venti seems limited anyway. Just hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
Also, by the way, that was the joke last time about the accidentally calling Venti a girl. That's not uncommon on the internet, I've noticed, by the way.
We have a nice joke here now. It's like Venti's gender is Venti. When they take off their pants, it's just wind.
It's pretty funny.
Apparently, Omega hadn't heard it before.
No, I haven't heard that one. I don't hang. If you guys are like hanging out doing co-ops, I don't ever do that. I'm off doing other stuff because I'm so far behind. I can't hang out with the cool kids and fight bosses. My guys are only like level 30-ish. Have been doing some Ascensions. So, like, I think I've got most everybody I'm actively using Ascendified so they can do stuff, but I'm still working through story.
Yeah, and Lucky has reached what I guess we could call end game for now. I am currently adventure rate 33? I'm like maybe a few hundred from hitting 34. The current mad lad in our community though is Jube, who's like 35, and whose messages is like, I'm not addicted. I'm like, sure you are, Jube. Sure. But
yeah,
like,
so
I
suppose since I can actually enter the co-op universe and stuff now, I should actually like figure out friends and stuff in game, shouldn't I?
Yeah, probably.
Hang out with people. But yes, it exists. It's very, like I said last week, the actual gameplay part is very fun. And like figuring all that out, you know, it does have its similarities to Breath of the Wild, which apparently gives some people the agita, but it's not really the same.
Yeah. Well, listen,
like, I feel like, obviously, the game developers were inspired, but also, here's the thing, Breath of the Wild is just a really fucking good game. Like, it's just really good, though, guys, and, like, it has a lot of elements about open-world exploration games that everybody should learn from. And it has things that people don't like that people should learn from, too. Breakable swords. So it's, yeah, that's one of those things where, like, the difference between, like, ripping stuff off and, like, you know, actually just being like, oh shit, this is a really good game with lots of elements is always a weird one, because, games, right, have, like, there are genres, there are subgenres, there's stuff that creates, is, like, every game that gives you a depletable resource that goes away when you die a Dark Souls clone? No. But they might be inspired by it because that was a super popular game, and as someone who is occasionally a creative, I also too feel this way. Like, if I play a really good game or see a really good anime or read a really good story, I'm just like, oh man, that was really good. What could I do with some of those themes or elements, you know?
Yep.
And I'm sure video game developers who have their video game developer brains on will do that too. They'll be like, oh yeah, wow, that was really neat. How could I apply this to, like, my blah blah blah?
My hoobity-doo.
Yeah. Because, like I said, I wouldn't say it's like a straight kind of thing, right? Like, because it's not like post-apocalyptic, and it's not like, you know, yeah, you're lost and stuff, but you're not like amnesiac. You're just wandering around, not sure where the fuck you are. Actually, I don't know, the player or brother or whatever. Also, I feel like the player character has, well, first of all, the player characters are way more talky than Link. You can be very, very sassy in dialogue options.
It's the best.
Especially as you constantly refer to Paimon as emergency food.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly just because it bothers Paimon so much. That's the only reason why I do it. I'm not actually going to eat Paimon, but she's made it a thing.
And so has Twitter.
Oh my, yes, it has. But yeah, so it's like, it is similar in kind of like layout, but it's not really. I think the art style is like way more anime-esque as well, even though it's by Chinese people, technically. Made in Shanghai, I believe. Which, by the way, maybe we should note, maybe why you will find certain names, terms, and etc. Censored, because it's a mainland China-made game, so, and it looks like they haven't done like a technically like additional global client, or at least not yet. So you still kind of have like some of that leftover censorship, which, on the one hand, slightly bullshit, but also at the same time it's like, but then you can't make games in China, so I call bullshit on the Chinese government, not MiHoYo for legally making a game in their home country. And it will be interesting to see if anybody like if they do like a proper like global like, oh hey, this is the global version, we can split this off and do some different stuff.
Well, I'm happy as long as I get to look up Noelle's skirt when I'm gliding. So,
But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, and that reminds me of a. Hold on, find something. Reminds me of a video I watched recently because I was talking about like ripping off versus establishing a genre and all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
I'll link it to patrons.
Mhm.
But fair warning, this is talking about explicit fan fiction that turned into very saucy non-fan fiction writing. And I don't want to get into a whole thing, but like this talks a lot about like lawsuits and cancellation and stuff about establishing genres and similarities. Like, at what point do genres begin and copyright ends, kind of thing? And it's really weird. And also, lots of people were scumbags in it, and I'm not afraid to say that. Spoilers, scumbaggery. But check it out sometime if you have the time. It's like an hour long, so I don't know if people want to watch that. But yeah, check it out. It's Lindsay Ellis's Omegaverse video.
I might need to
No, Axe, that's not 100% true. Because all the non-fan fiction is het for some reason. Fiction is weird, kids. And fan fiction's even weirder.
I don't even know what words.
Don't. Oh, I'm talking in the short version, Axe. It's also used in the thing. It's not required. Just it's a video that, like I said, it explores a lot of the themes I'm talking about. Like, where does a genre begin and end? Like, can you, and you can't actually, because I'm pretty sure you cannot copyright game mechanics, but like, do you call the fact that in Genshin Impact you can climb anything with a stamina bar, like, is that a ripoff of Breath of the Wild? Or is that just a really good mechanic that more games should have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I played, I still haven't beaten, but probably will, Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Like, I played that, like, right after playing Breath of the Wild, and I was very much disappointed by how you couldn't free climb, you know? It's also a little weird, in, Ghost of Tsushima. There we go, found my name. Where that's also not a free climb. That's just, like, you have to explicitly look for certain rocks to climb and stuff. Some of which are very tall and don't make a lot of sense, but it's not as bad as Nathan Drake. That guy climbs crazy amounts of stuff with just, oh, look at this slight white line on this cliff, smashing your torso into everything.
Oof. And then you have, I totally forgot Drake's voice actor's name. It's not Troy Baker, it's Nathan Fillion. The
other one, yeah.
No, not Nathan Fillion. Fuck.
No, that's the joke.
That's the joke.
Yes,
Nolan North, thank you. But you did get to hear Nolan North grunting a lot of,
especially, I believe, since I've seen some Let's Plays and stuff, as the games go on, he tends to be a little more like, ooh, yeah, I gotta feel that
one. But yeah, like, I would honestly use platforming games as, like, another big example. Like, I think the more games that do it, the less people will get offended about it.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. You're going to see that more and more, because Breath of the Wild is a big boy iconic game, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to see more and more stuff. Also, guess what? I expect, because Cyberpunk 2077 will be super successful, you're probably going to see a lot of first-person, big immersive RPGs, right? Like, a lot of people are going to be like, hey, I can do that. Heck, you might even see people do that with old-ass tabletop franchises that are slightly defunct. God, Lucky, can you imagine if we got a Shadowrun big boy RPG? That would be wild. And somebody would go like, honestly, that'll be perfect. You can do magic and shit. Though,
honestly, that's, I guess, the only derivative, because if I remember correctly, fucking Shadowrun did come from people playing Cyberpunk, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, they're both Cyberpunk games, but there was an actual RPG called Cyberpunk 2020, which later became Cyberpunk 2077, because, hey, guess what, guys? It's 2020, and we're not in the Cyberpunk future. We're in a different kind of post-apocalypse movie. Yeah, so I would not be surprised if people were playing that game, and then I don't believe the mechanics are necessarily super similar. But definitely the themes were kind of out and about in there, and Shadowrun definitely feels like somebody was like, hey, what if D&D, but also Cyberpunk? Which honestly is another thing that I believe that's an Unearthed Arcana, is you can play a wizard who's a technomancer.
Something like that. People add a bunch of weird stuff because they want to play their special fucking snowflake.
Well, I'm just thinking that D&D should jump on that, is like actually do like a for real modern D&D setting, because that's Babby's first homebrew idea, is like, what if we did D&D but today? Like that's one of those. No offense to people who do this, I've done it plenty myself. I've done a lot of those, basic bitch, fantasy heartbreakers, blah blah blah. Thinking about the mechanics and stuff, all that. But like, there's a lot of people who take D&D and are like, okay, but what if I did this but modern? Dragons are CEOs. Pixies are whatever.
Well, that's why I've always liked Shadowrun. It's like,
well, I mean,
all right,
no shit, Axe, you need to make guns work, but also this is another thing. Slight tangent, right? Sorry to interrupt you about Shadowrun, but it came up. People treat guns as like magic bullshit stuff. Guns and swords existed for quite a few hundreds of years together. For a variety of reasons. It's not really that hard. It's just that for some reason, you get a combination between purists who are like, guns aren't in my fantasy fiction, how dare you, no guns. No capes, no guns. And then you get people who are like, no, guns are the ultimate signifier. God made men and then Sam Colt made them equal. John Moses Browning is so cool. Guns are so good. Fuck swords, guns.
This is when they start firing their gun into the fucking air.
I fired and I missed. God, I love that. I love that bit in Game Grumps, but I love those animated so much. But yeah, so, like, you get a lot of, because RPGs are collective storytelling with heavily influenced by either usually one writer or small teams of writers on the actual game text end, or one GM and some players on that end, you get a lot of weird shit where people don't like to actually think about stuff, and guns tend to get overcomplicated. I actually think that, if I remember, from what I remember of Pathfinder, they actually did guns pretty decently. It still was bogged in some stuff, like the fact that Pathfinder has like 2 or 3 different versions of your AC. Like, I think that guns only need to affect your touch AC or something. But they were pretty straightforward of just like, here's the gun. It does dice of damage. It's treated like any other. I think it was touch, not flat-footed. Like, you're not surprised, but it just has to hit you to do the damage or whatever. It's whatever. It's a whole thing. Or maybe it was flat-footed. I don't know. But anyway, there were some underlying complexities because Pathfinder was kind of built in that crunchy ethos. But in general, it's just like, no, gun is thing. It does stuff.
That's all gun do.
And I believe anyway that's how, because they ported from Pathfinder, that Matt Mercer did a lot of this stuff because he did a homebrew archetype for fighters to be a gunslinger, because he had a gunslinger in his game, so they had to solve problems. From what I understand, those rules are fairly straightforward and not overly complicated, I think. They have special shot maneuvers, but those are just the same as any other class who gets like a pool of special maneuvers they can do, you know? So honestly, that's a weird thing where like people treat guns really weirdly, or just write them out. And I can even say that's true about, at least for the moment. I've talked about this with Legend of the Five Rings, where they explicitly write out guns, even though samurai love guns, because it doesn't fit the aesthetic they're going for, and I can be like, I accept this. But on the other end, when you like get into making guns either shitty or not shitty, it's really weird. Like some people are like, guns, those will cut through armor like nothing. Bullets defeated the armored knight. No. Rifling defeated armored knights. Rifling and mass production.
Spinning.
The term bulletproof comes from armorers would fire pistol balls, musket balls, at their suits of armor to prove that they would stop a bullet.
Oh yeah, no, if I remember correctly, there was a mythbusters about this. Fucking Japanese lacquered armor can literally stop small arms fire.
Yeah, so it's like it's a thing where people have assumptions that aren't true, probably because we can talk something greater about the American educational system, or just the focus of education.
Rote memorization and semi-propaganda.
And just not like we don't really dissect why certain things change. Just like, okay, so there was kings and knights and stuff, and they were cool, but they sucked because they weren't democracy. So then they invented the gun, and we got rid of knights because guns are American. As an American who was not in public education that long, I'm grossly stereotyping, but that definitely seems like the direction it kind of comes in. There's a lot of stuff we like compress and gloss over.
Oh yeah, no, trust me. Usually U.S. history is a required subject. World history is not.
Yeah, and even then, world history is a super misnomer because it's nuts. It's fucking crazy. Like, I think there's a lot of, like, European or Western history you should teach to get to America just because it makes thematic sense. Like you really shouldn't teach American history without teaching Roman history because, man, we stole a lot of shit from there.
Usually, the more I think about it, yeah, U.S. history doesn't start when it starts with, alright, so the king of Britain was a fucking ass.
Yeah, and basically it's like, alright, so the king was a douchebag. We told him to get the fuck off our lawn. And after 4 years of being cool, rugged American heroes, we did it. What's from the French. And then they never bothered us again, except that time they burned the White House. They don't teach you that one a lot. We had a couple of back-to-back rounds there, guys. Also, I don't think we talk a lot about the Mexican-American War or the Spanish-American War. We got into some tussles before we decided we weren't about this war business.
Tyranny King's not lying. I did live in Texas. They make sure you learned about that.
Oh well, stuff. Yeah, no, that makes sense because that's the thing. Texas is a whole different thing. They used to be separate. They used to be separated. They were. That was a whole thing going on there. But no, we got into some dust-ups, America did, before we decided, we're not about this war business. And then there was some stuff in Europe, and we decided, shit, we gotta go, well, guess we're in this business. And then it stayed that way. But yeah, so, the just in general, I've noticed this weird way that people treat guns as gun troops.
I'm slightly offended if you're trying to spell Alamo, and you're spelling it Alamo. I might not live in Texas, but I keep that Texan spirit in me sometimes.
You can take the boy out of the country, but not the country out of the boy. By the way, I'm from Wisconsin originally. You just wouldn't know it because I've lived here in the South so long and talked to so many Southern people. Also, honestly, that's probably the only local accent I can do without being offensive. On account of the many Hispanic immigrants and other Caribbean immigrants I have known who do have idiosyncratic dialects, but that might be wrong of me to imitate them.
Can't do any accents. I just make weird sounds.
But yeah, gun tropes and guns in these RPGs are weird, and so Axe was like, "Oh, we need a way to treat guns as not dumb." It's just it's really simple, just a gun. It's a longbow, but it's a gun.
It does damage.
It does.
It has a weight.
At worst, you need some way to do an auto fire rule, but also you really don't, because honestly, that's another as much as I don't mind firing on automatic or whatever, because for the way we build stuff, yeah. But in general, it's just most of the time, if you're actually firing a gun fully automatic, you're barely trying to hit a guy. That's another thing that people don't understand in general. Military accuracy is weird. Generally, nobody wants to hit anybody else, and you're firing at guys to tell them to get the fuck out of your way. Yeah. If you happen to hit somebody, wild. But yeah, it's it's a whole thingus boringus. But you were talking about Shadowrun earlier. Do you remember what you were going to say? We took a 10-minute tangent.
I do not.
I'm sorry about that. That one got away from me a little.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Well, I guess I was going to say that to me, Shadowrun is the D&D of is the D&D that I prefer because I've talked about my gripes with D&D several times. Cliff notes, most classes are built to do some sort of combat first and everything else second. If that isn't, even. And if you want to play that game, that's super fucking fine. You do you. But Shadowrun was the game that introduced me into Point Blank. Did I start with 3rd or 4th edition? I think I started with 4th edition. Who knows? And, everything that's Shadowrun's the first game I played that had, point buy systems of you buy every individual skill and whatnot. And it's still, that's what it exposed me to, but it still had, what I'll call familiar tropes of, having, you have people, then you have, you have your elves, you have your dwarves and your trolls, and all that crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, no, this is something that I can still relate to, in a gamer sense, but it's something new I can explore and let me do whatever the fuck I like. Whatever it is, like this is where Lucky actually started really becoming like being like technical characters, where I started like getting into building stuff a lot. Oh, because boy howdy, let me tell you, 3.5 edition D&D is not kind to people who want to make shit unless you have a GM who's just like, yeah, let me just give you a fuck tons amount of resources and materials.
No,
so you
fair.
can.
Honestly, in general, D&D is bad at that. It's probably because, as we discussed, D&D had a lot of conceits about stuff and a lot of like internal tracking and deciding of mechanisms, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, no, you can't just make swords. Like, okay, slight tangent, but I'm in a D&D game right now. We're playing 5th Ed. I'm a paladin. We actually, to Lucky's point, D&D doesn't have to just be combat. We have played like 2 old sessions which were no combat. They were all like role playing and slight investigating and shopping. But also I will agree with Lucky's point that in general, except maybe for like our barbarian who multi-classed into arcane cleric, doing some dumb shit with mage hand. For the most part, other than when we roll skills, which are fairly narrow skill proficiencies in D&D, none of our character class abilities have anything to do with not fighting.
Yes.
Other than that, theoretically, narratively, with lay on hands, I can fix people of like disease, which is not necessarily a combat thing. Mostly that's like I can heal people, I can hit people. Like I got a couple of non-combat spells, but also being a paladin, I almost never want to cast any spell that doesn't involve the word smite, just because. I'm level 4. I have 3 spell slots a day, guys. Yeah. So we did actually do some of that stuff and worked around. But I occasionally get hit, even though I have 18 AC, because I've got a shield and chainmail. Would really love to upgrade to plate mail. Mm-hmm. That costs like a bajillion gold coins. Like, the economy in D&D is so fucked up. We barely, after, like, half a dozen or more, maybe even, like, 10 sessions, we got a very decent payday, thank you, DM, and I was able to buy, like, a hand crossbow so I could actually, like, shoot people at range and not be worthless, because, boy, howdy, as a paladin, ooh, distance, guys, oof. Our barbarian has, like, unarmored movement, so he's much better at, like, running in to hit people. My only ranged combat option before I bought a hand crossbow was the fact that our game master was very nice and let paladins have cantrips. So I could cast Sacred Flame, which is a save or suck spell. Oh, he saved? I do nothing. Great. But so I would really like some plate mail to kind of get myself up there. That costs like, what is it, like 2,000 gold, 5,000? It's fucking ludicrous just because it's plus 2 AC, like over the next best thing you can start with. And it's just like crazy bullshit expensive. And I'd love to just make some, but I'm pretty sure there's no, like, decent system for me to, like, at least they wouldn't make me pay, like, half that fucking cost in materials anyway to just be like, Get me a hammer and some iron, I'll make a fucking breastplate. Also, that would probably be int, my character is bad at that, but still. Like, there's a... 5e does a lot for, like, improving the, like, making sure the fluff is integrated and you have, like, little mechanical touches. Like, there's tool proficiencies and stuff, which are really interesting, but also the game doesn't tell you what to do with these things, just you can do these things. Mm-hmm. Like, it leaves a lot open to interpretation. Also, in that, we did do a combat, and in that combat, I was crit by a magma elemental and almost died for reals. Immediately. It sucked a lot.
I believe that.
But yeah, so you were talking about kind of like your Shadowrun crafting, right? Because that actually lets you do that stuff.
Yeah, and that's honestly like it's when I started moving away from D&D because, like, again, no offense to anyone who likes D&D who plays that, but D&D just seems to more and more follow the trope, the trope of our point is to kill more monsters, to get better, to kill monsters, to get more loot, to buy better stuff, to kill more monsters.
The classic gameplay loop.
The classic gameplay loop. And again, like, so when I see D&D now with, like, God, I think I've been playing tabletop for like 20 years now. So now when I look at D&D, I don't necessarily look at it like the tabletop genre. I'm like, all right, if I want to just go around and smack things for a while and not think too hard about things, that's what I'm going to go play. I'm going to go play D&D. As I said, it's usually very light on story and fluff. You want to think mostly about think about mechanics, how you want to do, and how you're going to mesh well with your team. It's basically, I look at D&D as a video game as I'm playing a co-op action game.
Which, by the way, is 4th edition is the best edition at that. Why
Yes.
do you hate it so, audience? I'm kidding. I've already said I'm kind of a 4E apologist, even though I do understand its flaws. But that's the edition that existed when I was alive and started playing games, and that I've actually tried, and it's actually I find it okay because I was playing video games before I was playing tabletop games. Shocker.
But now as my playing, when I actually want to go on when I want to play deep dive, all right, I want to have control of every little minute detail. That's when I start looking at games like Shadowrun, and Eclipse Phase, because
I don't think we've ever mentioned that on this show, but the first edition of Eclipse Phase especially, but Eclipse Phase was heavily inspired by Shadowrun mechanically.
Yes.
To the point that the guys who made it came from Catalyst Game Labs, who were the current developers of Shadowrun, and co-published it with Catalyst for a while.
Yeah.
That's how close those things are. There's no outright fantasy shit in Eclipse Phase, but the underlying mechanics, and especially the point by style, were super close.
And the thing about that point by style is when you put points into a social skill or a technical skill, you because you put points in it, you kind of felt the weight of actually having that ability. In 5th ed, do they still have sense motive, or what are the diplomacy?
Insight, yep. I haven't trained in Insight. So I will say this: there's no nope, Eclipse Phase X. We've never played Shadowrun. You remembered wrong. Good job. Those are on our channel, by the way. If you want to check out APs, check out Eclipse Phase. It's cool.
It's cool.
So yeah, there's Insight as a skill. But in 5e there is no skill points or anything. It's just acquire X number of trained skills from this list.
Yes.
But yeah, Insight's one of the 5 things I'm good at because I'm a paladin. I'm half good at everything.
Oh yeah, I remember where I was going with this. But in games like Eclipse and Shadowrun, if I put points into social things, and that is my main focus, yeah, then yes, I'm a social character. I talk. I may not fight goo. I might not have technical skills, but if I need to talk to somebody, I can fucking talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm. And really, Shadowrun and games like it really established that as a tabletop archetype, right? The face.
Yes.
To the point where I think D&D has tried to backport faces, D&D and Pathfinder have tried to make, bards or other characters be more facey and socially. But they still don't change the underlying conceits of D&D, so it's really just you roll persuasion goo, I guess.
And now, speaking of L5R, honestly, I'm looking at L5R, and I think that, and I'm seeing L5R as kind of the evolutions of both trees into one. Because with the current edition of L5R, it feels very D&D in its combat, but you still have it doesn't necessarily take away from being able to do social things with because with the rings, rings, you can use your rings for fucking anything.
Yeah, and actually that was so previous editions had the ring system kind of, but they split it into 2 stats. So you would have under fire, you would have both intelligence and reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
And in 5th edition, they're just nah, you have fire ring. You're good at acting fiery. Which we could get into a whole philosophical debate, but won't, because Lucky's telling stories.
Yes. But with the current edition, as I read it, it's all yes, you can have, you have your fire rings, and you can have abilities you can have skills that are social, but you can have abilities that apply your social skills in combat.
Mm-hmm.
And conversely, you can have combat skills that can apply in social situations. I'm that's fucking awesome. So they can lend to each other. I can't remember what the ability is or what ring it is, but there's literally I think it's Jinsha, where you make literally a melee combat check, wielding a katana, and it gives, I can't remember the effect, but it basically affects your next social check as you're I'm too fucking strong for you to deal with this bullshit.
Yeah, there's a couple of things you can do where basically you can, when rolling martial arts and other skills, you can be yeah, no, I'm a cool guy.
I'm a cool guy. And, one of the ones that, the ones that my character has, Tsubasa, assess strengths, you can usually literally play a game with someone and, learn some of their weaknesses. Like, that could be used in maybe, like, combat and stuff. I'm just like, And so, like, and this is one of the main reasons I'm super excited to play Battle 5 Hour, because I've never played a game quite like this, where they do a very good job at blending the roles.
Yeah, some people have kind of, like, I know there's some diehards for the previous editions which are kind of complaining about some of the way the game does stuff. I think in general, 5th edition of L5R really, like you said, synthesizes a lot of that stuff where it's like you talked about kind of like bringing those two things together. So when you play the game, right, you have a school. That seems like a class, but it's kind of not. Your school gives you certain tags, but that just tells you what you're good at. Like, there's very, very, very few. I think there's like 2 rituals in the game, which are keyed to your tags. There's one that's a Shugenja-only ritual and one that's an artisan-only ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's almost nothing that you're actually locked out of by being a certain tag. What it is tags inform you mechanically what your duty should be, assuming that your duty reflects your school. That's actually noted. You can totally give yourself a duty that reflects a better character. Like, God, imagine being not a duelist-type Bushi, but being like a battlefield commander, and you're assigned to be a diplomat. You're like, shit, fuck, what do I do?
Sounds
but
like
that stuff happens all the time, right? It builds drama. You have a duty that's not suited to your talents. But anyway, so the tags more inform, like, and they inform your game master. If your game master's like, hey, we're gonna play what's called the Winter Court game, where it's all court stuff, like, all the time, there's no fighting, and somebody picks up, I'm gonna play a pure Bushi character. The GM is gonna be like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Your school ability and your talents will not necessarily come up. However, hey, for instance, I believe the Kakita Duelist School is like, Bushi Artisan. Yeah, no, those guys dabble in art stuff and also do dueling, which is, sometimes can happen at court. That'll actually fit in, right? Like, you can actually be in a pure intrigue setting. Meanwhile, hey, guess what? If you're a courtier artisan, don't play what the game calls a tactical campaign, which is all about building interesting fight scenes that you fight in. Because while there are some social techniques that you can apply in fights, it's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, your character's not really super suited to this. But even then, the default for these schools, they do tell you what kind of techniques you can pick up without any kind of special access, which is a whole other thing they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually the default techniques you can pick up is kata, martial techniques, shuji, ritual techniques, and rituals, or shuji is social techniques. Rituals are just that. They are social or spiritual, like, formal things. Most of them are downtime stuff. I believe, I haven't got locked in because the PDF's not available, but I believe that, like, Celestial Realms, the new book, adds, like, a lot of, like, basic religious rituals. In the default book, there's stuff like, contacting spirits, cleansing evil, doing basic divinations, performing the tea ceremony is a ritual. If you want to actually perform a real tea ceremony, you do it properly through a ritual.
Yes.
So there's a lot. They do a lot of that little stuff. So that's the default, and most Bushi and courtier characters have those 3 set up. So you can play a courtier and be like, yeah, so I'm gonna pick up EI Strike and Thunderbolt Strike and Heart Piercing Strike. Often you will occasionally see, I've seen some courtier schools tend to pick up the Yumi, the bow. So you'll be like, so I'm gonna get, Soaring Hawk style, stuff like that. And you can totally be combat ready. The only thing is your school curriculum as you want to rank up in your school and get access to higher level techniques and whatnot, you do that better by staying inside your school curriculum, which makes sense because you're staying inside your school, what taught you your techniques of social or fighting or whatever, raised you. And, it worked through all that stuff, and you can advance to new levels. Your sensei will teach you higher level secrets, or your mastery, which is a level that you can do crazier stuff. So if you buy out of your school, you don't tend to advance as fast, but you're still fairly customizable.
Yes.
Like, the only things you're usually locked out of is, hey, guess what? Invocations, magic basically is special. You usually have to be a Shugenja to buy those, because it's literally a specific thing in setting to have access to magic. And this is why I'm glad they split out rituals, because rituals let you do kind of this hedge stuff that anybody can do. Like, technically almost anybody can learn a ritual to commune with the spirits, and you can chat up your local kami and be like, hey, kami of the lake, we need some water. And the kami can be like, yo dog, thanks for those offerings. Here's some extra water. I'll raise the lake level 1 foot. Woo! Like, anybody can technically learn to do that.
I should look at rituals more often, actually.
But only a Shugenja can learn, like, something like, what's a good one? Well, Dance of the Seasons is a fun one, where you could be like, oh, water kami, turn this lake to ice, or turn this lake to fog, do that kind of stuff, like, do flashy, magical things. And conversely, because Shugenja are rare and special, they're not usually battlefield fighters, so usually they don't get to pick up kata. There are a couple of interesting wombo combos. In the core book, for instance, the Kuni family's Shugenja school, the Kuni being the crab Shugenja who are all about dealing with that evil Shadowlands shit. They're a Shugenja Bushi school. Their 3 technique groups are kata, invocations, and rituals. They don't get social techniques. They don't care about that. They're here to kill evil. So it's a balancing act, right? And yeah, there are some classes which give you these like combos of like supernatural abilities, martial abilities, but usually you lose access to social abilities except if they're special access. Similarly, there are some classes which give you just access to like katas and shujis and rituals, but will give you special access to like invocations or kiho peppered in there. So it's got a lot of these interesting things you're talking about, right? Where you can massage everything together, and you can be very customizable. And I think it lets everybody kind of fit their roles and massage themselves to the campaign, which is really good.
Yes. Eventually, we will get that to that L5 Argent, and I will be super excited.
Yep.
Anyway,
that was a long tabletop tangent.
Yeah. I forgot what happens when I talk about L5R around you.
Well, and also, you were talking about mechanic stuff, too, which was a good thing to just, like, get in there.
Where did this... Oh, yeah, I think this conversation started all the way back at fucking Genshin Impact.
Yes, because we were talking about tropes, and I don't know why we pivoted... Oh, I was talking about, like, imagine a first day, like a first-person Shadowrun RPG. And I was going to say earlier, I don't think I got it out, that those isometric Shadowrun RPGs, by the way, are super good.
They are. I have all of them.
But, like, we were talking about imitating styles, and I was saying that I'm pretty sure that Cyberpunk will get people maybe not crazy interested, because, like, obviously this game took, like, years and years and bunches of hours to make, but it will certainly probably define a genre a little bit, and people will be super interested in imitating it, either through direct inspiration or just because they'll be like, holy shit, the money's here, So that's always a thing to look out for. Like I'm pretty sure the revival of Masquerade Bloodlines is probably because of Cyberpunk. It's just that Cyberpunk took so long in dev that they're actually going to be able to like come out in similar time frames. Wild. Well, that was our big tabletop tangent in there. Yeah, I don't have much else to talk about. We did do Star Wars this week, obviously. Both episodes are already out because I realized I didn't release the last one timely, so I cleared out the backlog. So you can be caught up. Not much to talk about. I actually talk about this in the episode. One, it's a little short because I was a little sleepy still, and we just had a good break point and just be like, ooh, cliffhanger.
All quits.
It involves many player antics and things. Players do stuff.
I got to do one of the things I've wanted to do.
There's a fairly decent amount of like inventory requisition, shopping, crafting kind of stuff, but it's pretty normal for us, honestly. And I think you hit a good point where, like, halfway through, you were like, because you were basically doing police shit, and then you realized, oh shit, we don't have any surveillance stuff. Like, I don't have any bugs or tags or trackers. And I was just like, yeah, no, you don't. Usually when you guys try and solve crime, you just chase people and either talk to them or punch them until they tell you until you get what you want. And kind of interestingly, the way this worked out was you did get that stuff and kind of put it together, but it happened to be convergent for reasons. Despair reasons. I mean, okay, I can actually say what that was, because that already happened. There's no further consequences. I actually, because there is a check involved for that guy because the bug you used has a check to find it once it's set. I just gave him that check and I upgraded his check to find it. So that was all mostly him and one dice upgrade. to find the bug.
Mm.
But yeah, he did find it, and then guess that's why he went back to his boss. Hey, I found a bug. And then you kicked a door in his face anyway.
Yep.
Though, this does involve, talking about doing that stuff. This does involve Arma one-punching a guy. You went a little whole hog on that, but there was an NPC you totally immediately took out because that's what you wanted to do, which is quite interesting. Know how? Check out the episode.
Like I said, I built Arma. She can punch real good.
Yeah, and usually for resource management reasons and just also dramatic tension, you don't go all the way. But when it's like, no, I really want to knock this guy out in one blow. I don't want to deal with this bullshit. You were able to, like I said, go whole hog and just punch him and take care of him. Punch him good.
And I got to also check off hit a fucker with another fucker.
In a very funny way. I don't want to spoil that one if people haven't checked up on the AP.
Yeah, you should listen to it. It's great.
But we do a lot of antics.
Yeah, I do love antics.
We're good.
That's definitely my. I guess that's the current play style I try to emulate is serious but amusing. Like,
well, honestly, like I'm informed by my own play style and by listening to other people play through actual play and stuff. But in general, the way I see most role playing games is you're sitting, even if it's virtual, right? You're sitting around a table with your friends. Like I've played some online games with randos, but usually those have worked out because I've at least built a little bit of rapport with those guys. And like any story, RPGs need tension breaks, right? They need you need moments to relax and rise tension, etc. So you need to be able to be serious when it counts, because if you're all jokes all the time, then just tension is lost. There's no drama in it. That works for some games. Like there are some definitely comedic RPGs.
Made.
I should run Made for the team one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
I have played and run Made before with people, but not anybody recently. That would be a great record with a thumbnail. Do that sometime. But it's called Made RPG X. It's Made RPG first. You're gonna play a Made. I don't get this. I don't get rejecting the premise. Don't do it. It's bad. It's an entirely different conversation. But there are games which are purely comedic in tone, right? Made's not serious. You're playing Maids. It exists to imitate weird Maid anime tropes. It's actually a Japanese game that had 3 expansions that were all rolled into one thing and exported over here. Anyway, so if you're not playing purely comedic, you need the ability to be serious when it matters, because otherwise everything is meaningless. But also, gosh, it's really hard and really depressing to be all serious all the time. Like, I've read and heard people play Trail of Cthulhu, one of the many Cthulhu Mythos type games, in what is called Purist Mode, which is the closest to emulating H.P. Lovecraft and others' original fiction, which is super depressing, you never learn anything, everything sucks and is bad, and you all die at the end. And reading those and seeing people play them, I'm just like, okay, maybe, and most of these are, one-shots or short scenarios. Okay, maybe, every once in a while, but in general, just trying to keep everybody laser-focused on being existential dread all the time is rough. That's hard work for the players, hard work for the GM, and all your hard work goes out of the window if one player just cracks a dumb joke about, it's a color too weird to be described by, the moment somebody decides to be a smartass, it's ruined. You've ruined it. So I usually don't bother with that part. I will, if we're in a serious moment, I will herd cats and be like, okay, all right, everybody, circle up, get together, we're doing the thing. And then there's other times where I don't have any tension. I'm just like, yeah, okay, you punch him. And then sometimes players will be like, no, I'm going to punch him so hard he explodes. And they kind of drag the energy up on their own. And other times, we're just like, yeah, no, I don't care about that guy. I punch him. Yay. And we move on to stuff we do care about. And I've generally learned a couple of things over doing this for 10-ish years. 10-ish years, I want to say. Yeah, about there. About 10 years. I think I started really getting serious when I was about 16. So it's been about 10 years. Not exactly, but about, audience. In general, forcing shit is hard, right? Some games are written in a certain way that they kind of quote-unquote force you to do things. This sometimes bothers players, but other times does not. But just in general, both in a plot sense, railroading people, and in just a tone sense, trying to get people to be forced to stay to a tone, right?
Yeah.
For instance, L5R. If I was going to try and run a super gritty game that was all the shittiest emotionally quests in Ghost of Tsushima all the time, God, that would be rough. Forcing you guys to be super sad all the time. sad and violent. That would take a lot of effort from the players and from the GM, and would probably be emotionally exhausting. Yeah, you need to be able to do dumb stuff. So, like, my own tone would probably be lighter than Ghost of Tsushima, but would often get very serious on life-threatening and, like, actual real consequence shit. But also, sometimes you guys are just going to be doing stuff and things. And also, there would be downtime, because there's literally downtime scenes in action. It's great.
This is why I always like to look to Anakin and Kenobi for inspiration of how to act. Because
the Clone Wars series is great, yeah.
Yeah. They're great at setting they're great at setting that tone of, like, this is serious, but I'm going to make a quip. And we're going to keep the tension, but I'm going to for a moment.
The characters do their own tension breaks, basically.
Yes.
Like, the ship will be on fire, it's plummeting to the surface, half of everybody's dead, the droids are punching at the door, and Anakin will be like, or Obi-Wan, one of them will be like, and this is why I never fly coach, basically. Like, they'll throw out a cheesy one-liner, and then they'll go beat up some guys, and, like, it's still serious because the music is usually pretty serious, and, like, that's what Ahsoka does a lot in the early seasons. She kind of grows into her own character, but a lot of her early shit is usually there to be like, Master Anakin, what the fuck? Either she tries to imitate Anakin and it shows us why that's a bad idea, or she's just there to be like, dude, come on. Can you be serious for like 5 seconds? And Anakin is like, nope. Which plays into the fact that we're in a Star Wars game right now, and we do that. And sometimes we have to scold Loth for constantly trying to tension break, but other times he just does the tension break and it's perfect because it keeps us in the moment and doesn't let us make too emotionally exhausted. Oh, this bad guy's rambling about his motivation. Well, somebody will just crack a dumb one-liner, which is perfectly on point for Star Wars. And then it's like, and then we do stuff. But we can also have, those serious moments of, like, narration and other things. Mm-hmm. Happen in some recent episodes that we're a little past, talking about, like, oh, yeah, no, there's something, very serious and dangerous and violent happened here kind of thing. Very interesting stuff. Okay, so, yeah, Star Wars in general, tone's fun.
Tone is.
We talked about Eclipse Phase earlier. That was one of those games, it's like, it's kind of a horror game, but also not because you're so, like, superpowered all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I've already talked about it, I think, before, but I can reiterate. Kind of like my GMing style with that is to definitely be like, okay, when shit is scary and freaky and out of this world, we'll do it. We'll do the sci-fi horror. We can do that. And there's plenty of things that reference to that. Like, and generally, people I've played with have known stuff like Alien, Dead Space, like, they've had the wheelhouses. But then the other part is, okay, you guys are, like, super hyper-competent future people, so the other, like, another, like, 30% of that is, like, like Ghost in the Shell and other type, sci-fi or cyberpunk type, super high-speed, low drag, like, fun action time,
I usually, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah, and then the other 30% is just, guys, future space is cool. Like big, not action, but just, like, setting set pieces.
Yeah.
Like, hey, guys, did you know you're on the fucking moon right now? You're on the moon. You're in a moon city right now. There's a fucking panda over there wearing a jetpack in this moon city. Like, that kind of shit. Just, like, future's wild.
Let's go for an orbital walk. Yeah, let's go walk out in space for a bit. Cool.
Yeah, so that I think is my good, like, 30-30-30 mix on EP is usually it's like, okay, existential terror, sci-fi action, and then just future set piece.
Future!
You guys walk down through, downtown Val's New Shanghai and just walk through the neon market there and just like, oh yeah, you see a guy selling, cloned hearts. If you need one, you need a spare heart. Selling some XP, all that kind of stuff.
I know I'm sad that Ron has
exploded.
Yes, it says exploded, and we can never finish our EP game.
I could probably try and do some other stuff and convert some stuff, but that would require yet another plate to be spinning.
No.
I'm sure I will, because I love Eclipse Phase. I need to check in on those guys, actually. I follow them on Twitter, but I haven't heard anything out of them. You'd think they'd be getting at least a decent amount done, since I believe they're already all online freelance shit.
Alright. Oh, well, I don't know, if we have it. Let's see.
We're about 2 hours, but I have one more thing I want to follow up on from last week.
Alright.
Yeah, if we don't know any other stuff we're going to talk about.
I could tangent more about tabletop, but I don't have to.
Nah, I wouldn't have to. So I would say, to bring up some anime stuff, actually.
Yeah. Cool.
Actually, because...
Omega. Can we take a break?
Yeah, we can take a break. We can go for 2 hours. Let's take an intermission. We'll be right back, kids.
Right back.
Okay, we're jumping. Doing the thing. We're back. Deep breath. So, while we were gone, I did double check the Eclipse Phase store. It doesn't look like they've been producing some adventures, I think, for second edition, and are working on some Game Master supplements that haven't come through. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got some stuff to work on.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I wanted to talk about anime stuff.
Yes.
Because last week you mentioned to me that Burn the Witch came out.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's actually out? Okay. And you said I should check it out, and I did. You were not wrong, for a variety of reasons. I did really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, there's two reasons why. One, obviously, it's still peak Kubo TJ aesthetic.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I said.
Yeah, I believe you. At the very least, you mentioned that it had a lot of those things. But no, it's like, yeah, no, it's got all this stuff. Noelle has huge boobs for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's all the there's a background shot of characters that don't mean anything to the OVA or movie or whatever we want to call it, but they all have names and they have character designs that are all unique. I think like 3 of them speak in the whole thing, including, of course, peak TJ Kubo naming. Bruno Bang Knife. It's full of shit like that. Oh, I love it. And the other thing is, obviously, it's about dragons. It's an urban fantasy in reverse London about dragons.
I love dragons.
So I was really about it. I mean, I don't know if they're really rocker names, but one of the many things Kubo is known for is his dramatic naming conventions. Grimjao Jaguarjak. Stuff like that. Like his Japanese names are usually full of, like, Japanese-style wordplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I believe Byakuya's name involves white in there somewhere. There's the many, many, many puns about Ichigo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the different ways you can write that name. Did we ever... Okay, that's a good point. Did we ever decide on what the fuck Harabelle's first name, her vowel is? Like, I see that multiple times. Eventually, Kubo usually writes them out, but I don't remember. But yeah, no, like he goes apeshit with names that aren't Japanese, and probably his Japanese names are a little weird, too. It's just we don't pick up on it. But yeah, no, like, literally... the pseudo-antagonist, definitely the Grimjow-type character, Bruno Bangknife, has the name Bruno Bangknife. There's a lot of, like, proper nouns thrown in there for no reason, which I find hilarious, but obviously agitate some people. Like, the main character girls are in part of their organization called, Pipers. They have pipes, so they're there to tame dragons. He says she wants to be in Sabers, but we don't know what they do, but it's implied that they do the big boy dragon fighting. And then Bruno comes up later, and he's apparently part of a different organization called Inks, who obviously summons stuff with graffiti, because that's what he does with magic. Like, all in all, I obviously I really like the aesthetic and a lot of the tones. I already knew the twist, as it were, already, because of the manga. And hey, spoilers if you don't know, but you probably know. Just, here's your warning, like, skip ahead the next 5 minutes or whatever. But I already knew that at the end the arch would be completed and it would say Soul Society West Branch. And it's not really that subtle because their coins have like the SSWB on them, right? Like there's a lot of references if both before and after you know that it's a stealth sequel or at least in the same universe to Bleach. There's a lot of similarities. Magic spell number.
Mm-hmm.
Like the magic system is really good. It really referenced the references to like tools. The fact that the Soul Society guys are incredible assholes all the time. Well, I mean, yeah, that's what being Soul Society West Branch means. Darn it, Kingmon. It's explicitly said in the same universe. That's what I'm saying. In the original manga one shot, that's a twist. That's the last panel.
Yeah. Fun fact though, in the title, the way they spell it out, it actually spells out Bleach in the red letters.
Yeah, that's another subtle thing. Like Bleach is in the title of Burn the Witch. Like it's clear that this was intended to be a spiritual successor, follow-up, same universe thing from the beginning. It's just kind of funny to see it play out. Mm-hmm. So, you can tell... Well, yeah, that was... Again, like I said, the one-shot spoiled it already, so everybody knew. And then later at a point when asked about this, like, I believe Kubo came clean and was like, yeah, no, it's set so many years after Bleach, blah, 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 and it's obviously in the same universe. But, like, it's... The way the anime actually treats it internally, because we ignore external factors, they don't count. It still also does the same thing at the end, where they rebuild the archway. It says the Soul Society West Branch, and then Noel smashes through it. because Oishi is yelling about her panties. It's hilarious. Got pretty good characters, like a lot of the stuff. It's kind of interesting because Kubo doesn't shy away from female characters, but I don't think I've ever seen him have female leads before. So the two girls in the Burn the Witch are really interesting, and you only get a little bit, like, honestly, because it's, like you said last week, it's in 3 parts that are about 20 minutes, but they all just flow together. Like, Noel seems like kind of a flat character. Like, she's very deadpan. All we know is that she's in it for the money, and that she has some sort of vague conflicted feelings about her senpai, the dragon-clad guy, Balgo, the weirdo. I love him.
I know. I think. Yeah. She's totally into him.
Yeah, but that's obviously counterbalanced by the fact that they're both teenagers, right? Like they're going to school, and he's like an upperclassman and a huge nerd. So it's like
he's a dork, and
yeah, he's an absolute dork, and she's just like, God, I want to think you're cool, but you're really not cool, Balgo. So the other kind of
also he has something to do with a sword.
Oh yeah, no, it is actually super interesting. So the original manga one shot, which I've skimmed, is kind of self-contained, but the anime, which also I believe has a manga adaptation, like their Shonen Jump printed like 3 chapters or whatever, or 4 chapters, which are just the OVA plot, but in manga form. Because I believe, if I remember rightly, the one shot is actually its own story. It's more like there are beats that are the same in the actual anime, but like that's actually the story of like how Balgo got dragon clad and whatnot, and why he's doing stuff, which the OVA doesn't explain at all, but doesn't really need to. You just buy it. So, that's the thing I don't actually know. The OVA has open-ended plot hooks. They introduced the super powerful, the Machen, the fairy tale dragons, basically, of which there are like 5 more, I think. I think there were 6 total.
I can't remember.
Something like that. It's been a while. I watched it like a couple days ago already. And it's for the purpose of the OVA, not really important. And like you said, Balgo does something weird with a sword, and that's why they decide not to kill him at the end, because he's apparently a plot hook that means they'll be able to take down the super badass bad dragons. Maybe, finally, like a thing. So, like, it's got a lot of open-ended stuff, but... Oh, it was 7? Okay. I'm not clear what they're gonna do with it, like, they've already started the chapters, but I think it's over, so is, like, Kubo gonna full-blown turn this into a full-length manga? Will there be an anime? If there is an anime, this, was it Colorido?
Yeah, Colorido did great.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to shout out. The anime version, amazing aesthetic, like, obviously it has Kubo's underlying style, but, the animation very smooth and fluid, really good work with the voices, the sound design, and the music. You know, like, it's got a lot of really good aesthetic and a lot of really good animation. Like I mentioned Bruno Bangknife earlier, he, puts on a mask that has a skull face on it, of course, Kubo loves skulls. And then in the animation, when he speaks, the mask moves like those are his teeth, like his mouth, and it looks so fluid and smooth. Like, they put in a lot of extra effort into making this thing pop, basically, and it really does pop. So I'm actually, if they're gonna do more animation, I'd love to see it. So like I said, I'm kind of unsure where the future of this goes, because obviously it's open-ended, but I wouldn't mind seeing more. It's got a lot of interesting stuff. Like I said, we don't really get super deep into the characters. Like, I think you get the most idea of the character for Nini, because she does the opening monologue, basically. Right? And she's the viewpoint character, so she talks about how she thinks princesses and fairy tales are bullshit, because the magic ends part of the way through. Which is why she's a witch, get it?
She wants to be the one casting the magic.
Yeah, because then she wants control over her life, because her day job in regular London is, they call it idol, but she's a pop star, basically. Which is not quite the same thing, but obviously we have to understand that Kubo is still Japanese, even if he obviously looks around. Like, I'm like 90% sure he like took a vacation to London or something and was like, damn, this architecture is cool, though. Fashion design, architecture, big things we know about Tite Kubo. He loves to draw those things. But yeah, basically she's a pop star and is constantly hounded by paparazzi and whatnot. And so her not day job is to go, corral dragons. And I love at least that the translation is like, it's I think they switch a couple times, but it's the points are basically achievement points or merit points.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's got her fucking IRL gamer score she's trying to get because like I said earlier, the only things we really know about Noel is she's got this relationship with Balgo and she's trying to get paid basically.
Mm-hmm.
Nini is all about the merit. She's trying to get promoted and get ahead basically so that she can join like Sabres or another more prestigious organization for I don't know reasons. But it's interesting to see, and I like the thematic kind of callbacks. Like the moment we start talking about dragons killing people and like dark dragons, I'm like, yeah, so hollows, yeah, got it. I follow. It's interesting that they're different but not different. Like the aesthetics are very similar. We'll see what they do. I don't know exactly kind of what we're doing for sure, but I'm interested in seeing more.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the only thing I'm kind of sad about is in the 3 20-minute episodes, the action is somewhat limited. And that might be by design, I don't know. Because after all, the main girls anyway are armed with their pipes, which are also guns. Gun pipe. Commence dragon mission. Big dragon energy in this, by the way. But that's definitely something I remember both from reading the manga and watching the anime was very regular about Bleach was like, no, there was actually some really good fights in there, and like some really good animation for some of this stuff. And while Burn the Witch doesn't necessarily shy away from action, it's a lot more like mobile and shooty. And also, at least in the 3rd episode, the climax, there's a lot of just Nolan Nina getting blown up and being fine. They really use that effect. The enemy has because she's Cinderella or Shindarella, because Japanese. But like they call her that because the moonlight and also because the dragon shoots ash scales which envelop things in light. And no, they're just. I think that's actually Nini's line, which is just no matter how you cut it, these are just bombs. She's just bombing. But basically the dragon sheds little diamond scales which explode and have little wings, so they're piloted. So there are a lot of great cutaway gags where just you see the little diamonds just whoop into frame and then somebody gets blown up. But yeah, like I'm there's a little bit of setup for some heavier action, but it doesn't really go anywhere. There's no like martial arts type action. There is certainly no sword fighting, and I'm wondering if that was deliberate by Kubo or what. But that's the one thing I kind of felt like I missed. But it's still very, very funny, very entertaining. I like it a lot. I'm interested to see where it goes. And I will probably check out, since we're on the subject, I will probably check out the anime adaptation of Bleach's final arc just to see what they do. Like, since they've got all the material to work with, and, we've got kind of this, I've talked about that, right? Like, there's a lot of big ethos in the fight scenes and the pacing. I'm wondering what it'll turn out like.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'll be sure to, I'll actually check that out when that rolls out. Just because I do actually really like Bleach. Like, I know it kind of got rough at the end, but I like a lot of Kubo's work. Like, his aesthetics are really good. He has a slight cast inflation problems. But also I don't know. Unlike some authors, it really did seem like, and I don't want to necessarily put all this on the editors, because I know that editors are actually very important, and it's a real key part of this. But especially at the end, but overall, it felt like Kubo kind of had some antagonistic relationship with some of his editors at Shonen Jump, which kind of affected speeding stuff up, slowing stuff down. A decent chunk of the quote-unquote filler content that went into the anime was either ideas that Kubo sketched out and never worked with, or stuff that was cut because the editors were like, hey, move this along, fights characters, sell merch. I'm reasonably sure that Kubo wanted to do more stuff in the real world, setting up the urban fantasy stuff before Soul Society got really involved, but his editors were like, nah, we bring in those Shinigami guys. We need Soul Society stuff. Do it. And he was just like, okay. And sometimes those kind of editor nudgings work out, the Android Saga. Okay, Axe, that's not a problem. That's just a Japanese thing. That's just what Japanese people do. Stop being racist. Jeez. I'm kidding about that last thing, but this is a current Axe complaint. I will say this, okay? Fantasy fiction, it's fantasy. You don't need to build a logical basis for how you can beat stuff. Obviously, you need a certain amount of verisimilitude. But in general, the old, tropes can be cliches. So if you do it badly, the old, well, I was saving my secret technique for this, can be bad, but also, like, it's not. Also, no, I'm a big fan of Bleach. No, it's not full of pulling out techniques all the time. Fuck, the Bankai stuff was built up very well. That was actually a whole thing where Yoriichi was like, no, you dumbass, you can't do it. You gotta actually do your thing. And then we don't actually see him off-screen do it, but we know he's building to it, and then he gets to pull it off on screen. It's really cool. It's a great fight. And if you're gonna complain, well, doesn't he put on his mask during that? Yeah, but that was also built up. There's a lot of build-up with the mask keeping to show up in weird places.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing. Kubo's full of these long-reach, deep Hail Marys of lore. Like, there's a lot of stuff that either was left deliberately open-ended or that he knew was true the whole time with Bleach, which I appreciate. But, you know, like, I was talking earlier about editors, right? There's some evidence that, like, editor pressure actually got Akira Toriyama to improve the Android/Cell Saga a lot, right? Like, some of, you gotta be willing to kill your darlings and all that, you know, and sometimes you need an editor to tell you, like, are these guys supposed to be your villains? They're not very impressive. Is there anything cool thing, right? Like, anything cooler there you could do? And, like, I got some other designs I could work on. Like, that's an example of that relationship working out mutually beneficial. You actually, like, exchange ideas and stuff. It seems like how much of it was, like, Kubo's own personality or whatever as a writer, or just the way editors were handling a, you know, huge, giant shonen success. They seem like they did not have a mutually supportive relationship, and Kubo had some health problems that were kind of there at the tail end. I think he said that, like, he was in really bad condition during, like, the last year of Bleach. That kind of led to maybe a little bit of a rushed ending, which people are not necessarily happy about, and we won't go further. So I'm very interested, though, in seeing what they're going to do since they have decided they're going to animate it, because the anime just kind of ended. Like, I'm pretty sure I mentioned, you know, watching the Gacha the last week. I'm pretty sure originally the anime kind of ended because they wanted to let the manga finish and actually have a set point so they didn't have to do filler anymore. But also that kind of turned into, well, Bleach is kind of declining in quality and readership, so we're just not going to bother spending all this money to make an anime. Though, I mean, I believe it has a decently successful gacha game, which Kubo still did character designs for and stuff.
Yes.
And obviously he's been getting freelance work. We talked a lot about him working on Sakura Wars, a game I still have not purchased and probably won't for a little bit. But it's on my list. Same with 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I'm watching it.
I'm looking at it. I was gonna get it, but I'm like, no, I need to get Trail of the Cold Steel 4, which comes out in a couple weeks. I'm like, nope, I'll wait. I'm getting to it eventually. Thank you.
But yeah, so like I said, I'm interested in them following up on Bleach, and I'm very interested in seeing follow-up on Burn the Witch, because it's got a lot of the same, like, tropes and stylizing, but also it's got a slightly different setup. Like, fundamentally, the way we're introduced to Wingbind and dragons is like, no. While they do kick the shit out of bad dragons, there are also, like, neutral or good dragons that they corral, right? So it's like, it sets up that kind of, well, I suppose Soul Reapers Shinigami kind of have the, like, we send normal souls off to the afterlife and we kill bad, but it still kind of flows differently, right? So, and honestly, like, that's something I'll say. Unlike Bleach, Burn the Witch, at least in the one-shot, does not explain its metaphysics very well. And that's kind of okay. Like, I feel like very early on in Bleach, Rukia was like, yo, there's a balance of souls, send them to the afterlife, blah, 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 bad spirits, hollows, you know, like, big lore dumps, right? Here is the mechanics, because you have a job. Because our main characters in Burn the Witch are already on the job and pretty experienced, it seems like, they don't bother explaining to each other or anybody how they do what they do. They just occasionally mention to Balgo, like, hey, dumbass, dragon contact is illegal for other people. Don't be a dumb fuck. And he's just like, yeah, but my dragon dog sprouted wings, so what can you do? And then Noah lists all the things that why she sprouts wings, which is basically if Balgo does anything. It's like, he sprouts wings if you cry, and if you cheer, and if you sneeze, and then he's like, so basically if he does anything.
I like Balgo so much.
Balgo's a great character. Like, he's pure comic relief, but he's gutsy. Like,
oh yeah,
he's so unaware of his surroundings that he very rarely stops to get afeared. He's just having a good time.
He just wants to be with Noel-chan. That's it.
He gets to put his arms near Noel's boobs. He has a dog that's a dragon. At one point, they put him in a spare uniform, so he looks like he's official. and they're like,
I'm just here having a good time.
I'm having a great time. Like, even when the plot point in, like, basically last half becomes, like, Bruno Bagnev is like, I'm gonna kill that kid. He's just like, you're gonna kill me? Why? Why would you kill me? I'm a cool guy.
I'm like, there's this whole plot with,
Nini is the other one, and is her friend Nina. That's the one thing. There's a lot of N's. There's a problem. There's a slight problem here. I feel like Kubo did this intentionally because we know how careful he is with names, but God, there's a lot of N names. I believe it's Nina is the other girl in the group who left, basically.
Yeah,
but by the way, super girl boner for Nini.
That's great.
I love the turn, right? Because when we're introduced to her, she's just so she's playing the kind of like demure, shy. I don't know her name off the top, but like you can tell the voice actress is kind of doing that. Oh, I'm down here. I'm very relaxed, kind of thing. We're very normal. I just happened to find this dragon, yo.
But no, she's actually
then
just
when
having
Noel,
to
which by the way, this is a plot point that's brought up in the first half. Noel calls Nini by her first name, and Nini's like, "Don't do that. I'm your fucking senpai. How dare you? How dare you call me Nini-chan?" Even though I assume Noel does it as kind of a get back because Nini calls her the first half of her name or last name Niha. So kind like a nickname, but based on her last name. It is. I was wondering if it was, but this is the thing. Sari Hayami has a lot of range, so it's hard to tell sometimes.
She does.
That's that tracks though. When you said that, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. But then when like we said, Noel rolls up and calls Nini by her first name, Nina just freaks out and starts throwing shit. How dare you? Who are you? How dare? Which Noel is just. I love. Like I said, I'm kind of sad there's not super deep character development, but obviously if they're doing more, they're doing more. But like Noel's very flat, but she has great deadpan delivery. What's she mad about? She just goes a little crazy when I'm around other women, you know. Like a lot of the characters are pretty well written. I like them a lot. There's a lot of interesting stuff there.
Like it's literally opposite as attract in the case of these two.
Yes. I like their boss, who I think is only referred to as Junior usually, because he's just that boss. He's just like, hey guys, come on, do me a favor.
Don't be that, looks completely unassuming and,
perfectly normal, guys. Hey, listen, I talked to the higher-ups. I got you some extra money if you do the thing. Come on. And they're like, all right, we'll do it. And then he kills the boss at the end. Like one of the named big council characters shows up and like sasses him, and he's just like, and then he snipes the boss. And I think it gets dropped at the end that he's like the son of a great hero or whatever. But like you get the impression that like, man, he's an incompetent middle manager. Oh no, he's actually super strong. Cool.
And just playing it low. I love those type of characters, by the way.
Crouching more and hidden badass.
I'm
Look at me. I'm a perfectly incompetent middle manager pencil pusher. My office is a hole in the ground. Also, I shoot laser beams.
I'm hoping Balgo is something like that. If like it will
Well,
develop.
actually, one, we saw him do weird stuff, but also being a dragon guy certainly seems like it does stuff.
Yeah.
And there's also like a lot of lore drops, like Bruno talks about Nina and says, "Oh, she's got a lot of magical energy, a lot of Maruku. She's a watcher." What the fuck is a watcher? I don't know. They don't explain it. Bruno knows and Nini knows. That's what matters. The characters internally know. The audience, I'm like, what the fuck is a watcher? So obviously, like, we're kind of building out the classic Kubo multi-power set kind of thing. And like I said, I'm interested to see more. It tickles my fancy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, excited.
I hope like monster design, really good. A lot of variation. When that second dragon's face fucking falls off.
Oh god.
Like, it's so creepifying.
It was so creepy.
But it works so good.
And then I like how Cinderella molted into the second part. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, like as Ellie, the dragon's kind of like scary and ugly, but also kind of like cool. And then it molts and it's like turns into a beautiful princess, but it'll still fuck your shit up. Yeah, no, like really good aesthetic design. Like I think whether it's maybe just because it was just like a short run or whatever, but Kubo clearly had plenty of time to like work on his aesthetic and actually like polish it up, and he hasn't lost anything. Like he's still really good at the art stuff. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna guesstimate that probably. Yeah, that was about 30 minutes. So I think we've sung the praises of Burn the Witch enough.
Yeah.
I will. Hey, footnote: haven't watched any Yashahime yet. Still catching up on old Inuyasha, and also I heard the first episode or two was kind of like recap, getting you back into the swing stuff. So I'm not like in a rush. I'll let it get out a couple episodes before I start tracking. Lucky, do you have any other anime type things you want to talk about?
No. There's more things I need to watch. The new Irregular Magic High School came out. The new Strike Witches has come out.
Ooh, well, I gotta track that down. What's that on?
That's on Crunchyroll.
Okay.
The only thing is, there's definitely a gap in it, and I need to figure out what I have, because I was actually looking at it. Strike Witches actually has a lot of media. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Because I know there were 2 seasons of the original show, which were spread out several years, because the first season ended on a big cliffhanger, which didn't go anywhere in the second season either. And then there was Brave Witches, which was kind of a side story, but was in continuity.
Yeah, no, like, I think there might be a movie or something, because I'm gonna tell you right this, apparently it's somewhere in the middle here. Yoshika got her magic back.
Okay.
For something, so I'm like, okay, like, there's clearly something I've missed. I want to watch this, but, like, I gotta
figuring out
like,
the continuity is hard sometimes.
Yeah, I gotta figure out the continuity. But like I said, I did see it. Looks like they're going for a lot more. Actually, it reminds me a lot of the original series. Honestly, looking at the animation's a little bit better, but character designs are back on point, so it's back to a war on pants. And
listen,
it looks
pants can't fit in Strikers.
No, they can't. That's fine. But looks like it's been a while since I watched the original Strike Witches, but it looks like they're using a 3D a bit more. I mean, you can just watch the opening fight that they do. After,
the original anime had a decent amount of 3D, but that was mostly for Neroi models.
That
was at the time very classy CG for the aliens.
Yeah, no, they looks like they're using 3D models for Strike Witches in combat, maybe. I don't know. I didn't get too far in it, because as soon as I realized, wait, there's some continuity I missed, I stopped watching. I was like,
right, fair enough, because you're like, hold on, wait, I don't want to get confused. Let me figure out what I'm missing here.
Yeah. There's also a lot of stuff that I haven't because unfortunately, actually, I need to like I said, I honestly feel like some days I actually need to start writing down things I'm watching and things I'm not, and like maybe like look at everything that's coming out in a season. So I'll be like, all right, I check this off.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like building like a, what do you call it, like an action list or whatever.
Yeah, like things I want to watch, things I should watch, things like I want to watch and missed and stuff.
Yeah, because I've known several titles I'm interested in. We've named some of them. I had no idea they were coming out this season. Basically, this core. I'm just
I feel like I need to actually start doing that pack, like, for the past. I know this might sound well, but for the past couple years of anime, because I feel like, I don't know, just because of like how my life is, I feel like there's a lot of things that I meant to watch and didn't, and then forgot about, and I'm just like, I don't want to go back to it.
Yep.
But yeah, so I might start working on my master list of anime. But let's see here, anything I watch in particular? No. I plan on, like I said, I still gotta finish No Gun Life. I still need to finish Uzuki-chan. I also plan watching Sleepy Princess. Yeah, Tyranno King's mentioning it. I read the manga and it made me laugh, so I at least want to give that a try. And there was a couple others that I saw the title of, so I'm like, I am slightly interested in this. I can't remember them off the top of my head because they're in fucking Japanese. Oh yeah, Kuma. That was another one that I saw that I was all like, But no, that's it. That's it for anime. I'm gonna move on to anime, to books, because I do want to inform you that I got through Briefcases and Side Jobs and Peace Talks.
Nice.
I'm on. Actually, let me see here. Let me open up Audible here real quick. I'm on chapter 34 of 36 in Battleground, so I'm almost done with that.
It's very deep in there.
Yeah, like I said, I can literally listen to an audiobook all day while working, so that's just 8 hours of me listening, and working. That's one of the main reasons why I love, I didn't want to find another job, because finding a job that lets you just listen to a fucking audiobook while you work is rare.
Certainly, yes. Well, hey, I'm glad you found the time, because I know that was a slight struggle there.
Yeah, no. So next week I'll definitely be done, and we can do the big fucking talk you want.
Right, we can do a full big deep dive, because man, a lot of there's a reason why it's split into 2 books, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
A lot of shit happens.
A lot of shit's happened. I have shed tears for good and for bad. Ugh.
Yeah, so we will cycle back around to that one probably next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you only got 2 chapters left, and there's obviously some of that is epilogue stuff.
Oh yeah, let's see here. Looking at it, I got about 2.5 hours of listening left to do. Honestly, I was gonna want to see if maybe we wanted to delay it so I can finish it. I was like, nah. Otherwise, it would be here a lot later.
Yeah. No, and I see that. Like, I'm sure you'll still have all your thoughts and feelings next week.
Mm-hmm.
I still have thoughts and feelings. So.
Feels. Yep, feels. So, I'll look forward to that, and then we gotta figure out when Mirror Mirror has. We're gonna start yelling at Butcher for that.
He's even gonna continue with Dresden right away. There's no second Cinder Spires, you know? Really got lost in there.
True. That's true.
He wrote 1 book so big it had to be turned into 2 books. I don't know if he needs to take a $5. I'd be okay with that, Jim. If you're listening, you can take 5 off and write a Cinder Spires if you want. That was pretty good. I need to reread that actually. It's been a while because it was a long time since that book came out.
Yeah. There's always one scene I always remember that was like the most anime. Something I do want to call out. Apparently, in some time, like I don't know when, but Jim Butcher got real giggly about hentai at some point. Because I have noted in a briefcase in this that he has mentioned hentai 3 times, and all 3 times it's been related to tentacles. I'm like, sir.
I believe that in real life, Jim Butcher goes on the internet. Is the thing. So he knows the jokes. He goes to conventions. Also, I don't know if he's really talked about watching anime, but I know he's talked about stuff like Avatar and other more anime-esque cartoons. So
yeah, I've always seen him more as a more Western fantasy fan. I don't know if he's ever like.
Yes, and he's talked about how he really loves comic books. That's why there's a lot of Dresden Files graphic novels, for instance.
Yeah.
Because he actually really likes that genre. But comic books also spawn animated movies, some of which are pretty good. So I don't know. I don't know if he's ever really got into it. Like he seems plugged into a decent amount of the old pop culture. So maybe he saw some of the 80s dubs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not technically anime, but it was based on an anime. I definitely remember at some point the Dresden Files have absolutely referenced Voltron, right? Like I'm like 99% sure that reference has happened at some point.
Also, there's a reference I've been trying to fucking figure out. Actually, you might. I don't know if you know this. But in Side Jobs, the Thomas story where he's talking about being a Venator and he's talking to Bob about. They mentioned Tiamat and they talk about how Tiamat got a entry in the Monster Manual and a cartoon. Do you know what cartoon that was that they're referencing? Because I'm
not 100% sure, but if it was in the same breath, was Tiamat in the D&D cartoon? I wouldn't be shocked.
Maybe. Okay, I might look into that. Because
Google auto-completed when I started typing Tiamat cartoon, Tiamat D&D cartoon.
Oh, okay.
So yes, she was in the animated series for Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. That's kind of because I'm sorry. Me being me and doing what I do. My first thought was, wait, this wasn't written like only a year or 2 ago. They can't be talking about.
No, they could not have been talking about Babylonia.
Yeah, no. So okay. Yep, that's the 5-headed dragon Tiamat in D&D. I like FGO Tiamat better.
Well, yeah, because D&D's thing is D&D's thing. They just took a name that nobody cares. Well, I won't say nobody cares about, but doesn't have real life implications, which is a concern. I think I've talked about this before. I'm glad L5R is full of sidebars like, hey, guys, real world touchdowns. Don't be a jerk. Don't be weird. Also, don't be weird in public. It's not our fault. Not that I would ever be gaming in public. Ugh. It's weird enough gaming before.
I don't know. Japanese do that too.
I mean, like, I don't think that there might be some slight amount, but I don't feel like actual Japanese people would be super offended if you were name dropping like classical Shinto names like Benten or referencing Lady Sun, Amaterasu, origin of all that is good and mother to us all.
I need to learn that.
The only way you can say that one.
I need to say it because I will definitely drop that in all of our. I know, but I constantly laugh at Bahamut. I constantly laugh.
There's so much Bahamut's. Bahamut's not even a dragon originally.
No, the fucking whale turtle, something. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I think
it's well, and also here's the thing: history's ambiguous. I think he's just described as some kind of giant sea creature. So, like, some people are like, clearly that's a whale, but other people are like, nah, turtle, whale turtle, and then it's just like, Hey, if we don't know what it is and it's a mythological creature, dragon.
Dragon.
Is it weird, mysterious, and huge? Dragon.
Here be dragons.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I was super glad when I started reading Battlegrounds, and in the first 5 seconds, Harry Dresden fights a kraken.
Yeah. Actually release the kraken. Also, I will say this only. I am 100% glad that I decided to do briefcases and side jobs before reading these 2 books. 100%.
Yeah, no, that fills you in on all the stuff.
It fills me in on a lot of stuff, especially with Ramirez. I was
yeah, no, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a big thing in one specific story.
Yeah, actually, and honestly, with the stories like Cold Case and Bombshell, super important for context.
Yeah, no, and in general, people have said that about Battlegrounds, which you know for the most part since you're mostly through it, is that Battlegrounds is just you've heard of Chekhov's gun, Chekhov's armory. This is just Chekhov's endless, bank vault. Almost everything is built on references to prior things or tropes that are introduced earlier or previous characters we've seen once. Almost everything stacks on stacks on stacks of old stuff. So many callbacks, references, building on old content. Dresden calls for Titania again. It's great.
Yep, I'm past that.
Yep. Nope. She for reasons she greets Harry Dresden with a lightning bolt. I love it.
I'm kind of surprised that's where she stopped it at.
Well, she had shit to do.
She does.
Everybody had shit to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit to do.
There's so much work. Like I said, it's so dense. Like I said, I think the plot takes place over 8 hours, and it's
yeah, no, it's literally starts from the I don't know where it ends, but starts at the witching hour.
The crux of the plot is witching hour to daybreak, basically.
Yes, which is 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's
yeah, and there's some pre-setup it won't start until the witching hour, so we've got some time to say some stuff.
Yeah, an hour or two. Yeah, so midnight to dawn.
Yeah,
I would say,
and it's a lot of shit happens. All right, we should. If you're not done yet, we won't do our full deep dive. We'll
no,
get into the whole thing.
I got 2.5 hours. I'll probably, like I said, I don't know when exactly, but I'll be done before the next show.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that one next time for sure.
For show.
Okay. All right, we got a pretty decently long episode. It's almost 3 hours. Talked about books, talked about anime, talked a lot about video games. I think we're good. I don't really have any other things to talk about yet.
Yeah.
Might have some other stuff to bring up at other times, but for now, let's meet. All right, well, we've had a nice long full show of What's Up. I think it's time to wrap it up. Anything else you want to mention?
Nope.
Okay. Let's get on out of here. Also, before I go, though, I do want to say I need to use this dumb D&D cartoon Tiamat image as a profile picture one day for something. Not right now. I have something very important. Oh, actually, I should throw that out there. I don't know whether YouTube got over it or just the composition was right, but we don't have any problems with the current thumbnail. It's fine. They didn't get confused by legs. It worked. I know some people were talking on Twitter it's chest related, but no. We definitely got hit that first time because of Consort used legs, which are weirdly positioned so that it looks like she's got front butt or something. But I'm assuming it was some combination of thighs and upper leg area that got that last thumbnail blasted so many times, but it's fixed. Our new one has had no problems. It's doing very well. YouTube is weird and hates legs. Really needs to relax. If some assholes are telling you that thighs or collarbones aren't advertiser friendly, they're fucking wrong. Anyway, let's get on out of here. Pop some nucks. And tell everybody that this episode, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, I should say, because you can see it on our Patreon. Spoilers. You should give it a like if you liked it. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below. If you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Always get our latest episodes, like more What's Ups and other things. And even if you're already subscribed, considering that bell for notifications, you always know when we post a new video or when we stream. That's kind of important. We're going to do streams, we're going to do other stuff. And you kind of need to be aware of the scheduling. Notifications are cool. You can also join our channel. Link in the description or on this video page. Helps us out. And, of course, like I said at the front of the show, you can consider supporting on Patreon, because you can get access to episodes in audio format, downloadable for as little as $1 a month or $10 a year. And you can get lots of other goodies and stuff, like listening live and all sorts of whatnot and stuff.
Stuff.
There it is, yeah. We should probably amend the drinking game. We haven't done that in a while. The generic drinking game to somebody shows up to listen to the episode live as we do the outro. It's not always the same person, but there's usually at least one person who always shows up at the end.
That one will be empty your glass.
Well, it is done. So yeah, everybody empty your glass. We're clocking out. bars closed, flashing the lights. And so we will see you next week for more What's Up, and, of course, more Let's Take FGO, and lots of other stuff in between. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Watch out for those dragons.